Hey people, it's Mikefield here. We're going to kick off day number 3 of the Butcher's Circus tournament called Butcher's League. And we have a couple of special things prepared for you guys today. So the very first thing, people, is indeed the fact that we are going to get a special guest, Sticky Blood, to talk about the statistics. So let's just jump into the panel right now, guys, and let's kick this off with a little bit of peculiar stats that we have prepared for you today. Hey guys, here's Sis. Hey there, Sticky Blood.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Perfect. So, I'd like to start with the very short discussion of our group stage match table. So very quickly going through those games. We have 6 matches prepared for today. And let's just start with the short explanation of the rules, guys. The thing looks like this. We play best of 3s. Everybody plays everybody else in the group. So that's called round robin, right? Within that round robin, we get points for winning. So the more matches you're able to win, the more points you accumulate. However, we might get to the point at which we have a tie between 2 players, or 3 players even, in which case we will be trying to resolve the tie in several steps. Step number 1 would be looking at the number of matches won, and step number 2 would be looking at the head-to-head record those players have against each other, which means that if a player was able to win against the other, they will take the spot instead of their opponents. This being said, guys, we have a very cool segment prepared by Sticky Blood, as I've already said, which is the statistics for today. So Sticky Blood was very generous to us, and he decided to prepare a very complex set of stats based on the matches played in the qualifiers. So I think I'll just pass the microphone to Sticky Blood right now, and we'll have a look at some of those stats together with the guy. So go ahead, Sticky Blood, take it away.
Okay, yeah. So there's been a lot of interesting games so far. There's been lots of statistics that have come up, such as, let me just get my notepad. So outside of the anomalies, being the Musketeer, the highest 3 win rates were the Flagellant, the Leper, Arbalist, and the Abomination. Leper and Arbalist both having 60%.
You're slightly cutting off, mate. Maybe you should switch to like out of push to talk and just to normal talking, like to just the regular mic settings, so that it just picks up your voice, perhaps, or maybe.
Is that better?
Yeah, it is indeed.
Okay,
that's perfect.
Sure. Outside of the anomaly being the Musketeer, who had 1 game and the 100% win rate, we had the 66.6% on the Flagellant, the 60% win rate on the Leper and Arbalist, and just beneath on the 59.38% we had the Abomination, which surprised quite a lot, because I think we were all expecting Crusader to be quite high up there, but he ended up being
one of the lowest win rates, isn't he? He's performing quite terribly indeed, which is a very big surprise, given that he has been such a staple for many compositions that are visible in the Butcher's Circus.
Only with a 31% win rate at the moment.
Indeed. Sis,
the most picked. Sorry, go on.
Can you just kind of go over those picks, by the way, still? Sis, how do you feel about the Jester picks?
Well, obviously, Jester here, judging from the stats, especially these killing blows here, whilst he does have more killing blows than games played, I believe the only other character is the Bounty Hunter to have that kind of positive kill-to-played ratio. But also in these games, we have seen Jester not quite played to his full extent. I'd say about half of the time here. So maybe we're going to see these stats really drastically change coming into these group stages here, where the players are obviously a little bit better at the game.
Yeah, of course. So again, another surprise to me is the win rate of MAA, which seems to be about 48-50%, right? Which is quite low for the reputation that MAA has earned. The battle bots, the unkillable stress dealer. Like, how do you guys feel about that one? The MAA being so dominant in the meta potentially, and just not performing as well as one would have expected.
I think it might be down to the tournament format here. I mean, lots of these statistics would almost betray what we believe the meta to be when In fact, we're not seeing as much Jester as perhaps we would have expected to see. We're not seeing as much Arbalest played as perhaps we would expect to see either. We are seeing Man-at-Arms here with, tied with Abomination, the most games played. So to see him lose so many of those is maybe an indictment on the power of stress, in fact, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Sticky Blood, back to you, man.
Yeah, so we've got the most picked characters overall, which was Abomination being picked 32 times, the Man-at-Arms being picked 31 times, and the Houndmaster being picked 24 times. Quite a big jump there. As we had quite a significant amount of Abominations and Man-at-Arms, and they had quite separate win rates. Abomination being one of the top and Man-at-Arms being on the lower end. And Houndmaster, I think, also was on the higher end, with a 58% win rate.
Yeah, absolutely.
See the kind of the fact here that Houndmaster isn't a purely stress character, whereas the Man-at-Arms, well, I believe we did see him in, I think, only 2 non-stress teams. So, again, maybe here we're seeing damage become more of the go-to pick, more of the meta pick here for this tournament and this format in specific.
Yeah. Also, another kind of peculiar thing is how poorly Vestal has been able to perform throughout the tournament so far. Her win rate is very low compared to my impression of her power levels on the ladder. Is it just because of the Marcoms being so prevalent, or is there something else?
Well, I think we've seen quite a few Vestal misplays, especially in the earlier rounds there, where people choosing to heal themselves early rather than stun here. So again, some of this data might be warped by the fact that we are seeing players who might not know exactly how to play all of these characters.
Yeah, there was also quite a few Vestal bans. In the first day, there was 2 wins with 3 losses on the Vestal. The second day, again, there was only 2 wins versus the 3 losses on the Vestal. So both days, she just couldn't perform too well. She was also, whenever she was picked, she was one of the most killed first characters, with Hellion being killed 37.5% of the time first when she was picked, Vestal being killed first 36.36% of the time, and the Occultist being killed 30.77% of the time when picked first.
Right. I also kind of went through the games because I was curious about the impact of you losing your first game on your potential result in the tournament. And I actually figured out or discovered the fact that there are only 3 people who are able to reverse sweep their way back into the BO3 series. So out of the 12 matches we have played so far, only 3 players were able to sweep their way back into winning their match overall, which is kind of surprising as well. So this might be the impact of the morale or the stress people undergo in the competitive setting.
I mean, sometimes you would almost expect to see the reverse of that, right? You think if you take a first loss, you have the advantage in terms of knowing more likely than your opponent does what your opponent will be playing, and you have the ability to counterpick there.
So would you expect this to kind of shift when we get to best of 5s then?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
It wouldn't really matter whether you lose or win the first game or the first 2 games potentially, because then you just can predict exactly what you'll be against.
Losing the first game, I think, almost is quite a good silver lining to that very brutal cloud, because not only do you have the compositional advantage going to the next games, you also have the advantage of knowing how you need to change your gameplay to win. So you have a really good opportunity there to play proactively, change what you're doing, and take your opponent off guard.
Right. Okay, guys, so coming into today's matches, so I think we'll just go away from the statistics. So thank you so much, Sticky Bolt, for this one.
No problem.
English
guys,
people have to do everything for you, Mike, don't we?
Indeed. So, guys, please do check out Sticky Bolt's channel, which I'm just linking in the chat right now. There is a lot of cool stuff over there. I think he'll be just posting some additional statistical data on the tournament. And we'll obviously be using all his data throughout the future matches. So tomorrow on the group stage, we'll probably have some fresh data from this higher level play, which might stand in contrast perhaps to what we are seeing right now. And this being said, guys, let's just have a look at today's matchups. So thank you once again, Sticky Build, for doing all this. It's just lovely stuff, man.
Absolutely
Thank you for having
incredible
me.
things. I mean, come on, look at what this guy's done. Absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, because this took so much effort, right? There's no API for the Bush's Circus. You had to just take all the data by hand, which is just ridiculous amount of work, guys. So you really do have to appreciate this. I'm obviously going to be posting those this analysis as well, so you guys can have a look at all those data points that we have visible here. If you want to get some extra stuff, you can go to Sticky Build's channel, which probably contains a lot of really cool additional pieces of information. So moving on from here, we are going to have a look at the decks of our players for today's matches. So we have SBRH, Mangle, Bagheera, and Adelbart Gravo. And the first match is indeed going to be Adelbart versus Mangle, as far as I know. So I'm just going to confirm this right now very quickly.
Just say thank you for having me, guys. I'll speak to you later.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Just to reiterate, Sticky Blood. Sticky Blood.
Sticky Blood. Yeah, there was a typo then. Yeah, Sticky Blood. Sorry, man. Yeah.
It's fine.
It's just kind of a weird set of consonants there.
This guy's been posting his own analyses, by the way, of a couple of these Butcher's Circus tournament games. So really check out his YouTube channel. Very, very interesting stuff.
Right. Guys, so today the first match is indeed going to be Adelbart versus Mangle, which I believe the players are setting up for right now. So let's just have a look at those decks first of all. So Mangle here, no Mangle composition per se, but we can see this very stress-heavy, DOT-heavy setup across the board, except for the Dam comp, which is the final one, which is, by the way, the Halo composition, and it really begs for a ban, I believe, right? So whenever you pick this comp, you probably absorb a single ban, which is a very smart strategic choice by Mangle, I think, because it's just such a ban-worthy composition overall.
Well, given that said, we know, well, maybe not everyone knows it, but people who are active in the Discord, keep an eye on Mangle, know that this guy does not like the Halo comp. He doesn't think it's that powerful. Honestly, to think that comp isn't that good, maybe it just shows Mangled hasn't played enough with it. If I was going against Mangled here, I might almost think, you know what, it's a very, very, very strong comp, but maybe Mangle hasn't put the time in to really learn this one, because we both know, and everyone in the Mikefield community knows, Mangle is a guy that loves to build his own decks.
Yeah, indeed. But this comp is so scary. However, you have to realize the power of it. It just can destroy you within the first stand, and there is basically no recourse from there, especially if you are playing stress. So his opponent, Adelbart Gravo here, does have a single stress deck actually there. We have like a single control deck. We have another Halo composition at the very bottom called Fun. And finally, right? Am I reading it? No, the good comp is the Halo comp. And finally, the fun comp, which is the darkest mark composition. So we have a lot of mark, honestly, for Gravo. How do you feel Mangle pans out? Like Mangle's compositions pan out against that?
Well, I mean, Mangled here, again, he loves to make these fun comps. We're seeing 2 Flagellants, which does bode well compared to Adelbart 0, considering Flagellant really has taken home more victories than any other character apart from that anomalous Musketeer there. But on the reverse side of that same coin, he's only got one of these Jesters, and again, that comp you said is more than likely to be banned out here. So Mangle is going to be feeling the pressure here against not one, but 3 very, very, very aggressive and explosive comps here. 2 with the Jester in, and then 1 at the end there, that darkest mark comp with the Abomination.
Right, it's kind of scary. Playing stress against those heavy marks is always going to be quite painful, slightly reliant on the RNG as well, but once he's able to deal with perhaps one of those comps, he gets the better feeling of how Adelbart plays, and perhaps is able to, take over the game eventually. So we'll have the stream by Mangle, I think. So Mangle is going to be our streamer for the day. So let's just have a look at the bans and picks for today's match number 1. So Adelbart and Mangle right here. And Mangle is banning the composition called Good. So there is no more Halo comp. Again, you can see the respect players are actually paying to this particular setup of characters. You might almost feel like this is the ultimate meta composition right now, and nobody really wants to face it because of how much damage and pressure this one has, especially if it is able to go first.
Well, it's so brutal. We've seen earlier, you said, I believe, 3 out of 12 people able to actually reverse sweep. And this deck, this Halo comp, is one of the decks that you really, really, you've got to feel comfortable taking it first. You've got to feel comfortable taking it into almost any opposition. But facing it, you do have to be worried about an awful lot. So that ban here, incredibly smart. Adelbart here.
Yeah. Would you have a guess, Sis, as to what Mangle's composition was banned, by the way? What did Adelbot ban?
I'd go for dumb comp.
Yeah, indeed. So he just told me ban the Jester comp, please. And that's it. That basically describes the power level of this character, despite quite poor performance overall, guys. So we did indeed get rid of this composition for both players, and we're playing without it right now. So I think this is a very good thing that we do have the ban format available here, because this basically gets rid of this single most powerful comp. It opens up a lot of space for other compositions to emerge victorious, perhaps, right? Because playing against this specific composition, I don't think that many teams available or buildable in the Butcher's Circus do indeed stand a solid or reliable chance at winning.
It's so interesting to note the fact that this comp here, the one that everyone is playing, and I believe has been banned probably more than any other comps present, is the fact that this isn't actually the comp that won Misukun's tournament. We're seeing more of the runner-up comp than we are of the winner's comp. So that really does go to show that not only is this such a powerful deck in terms of how far universal, you can take that, learn it reasonably quickly, and really put it to great use.
Oh, absolutely. Since I think the players are getting ready, so we might just jump to tournament match with Mangle there, who is already streaming, and we will get started with the commentary on this one. Guys, by the way, today, Sis and Silentia and I will be streaming for you and talking to you about the games. Tomorrow, we will also have Sis actually left, so I'm just going to jump as well. Tomorrow, guys, we also have a special guest confirmed. Shuffle FM has agreed to shoutcast together with us. So he will be casting a couple of games. And there's just an amazing thing. So I think we'll get like a new voice, a fresh perspective on the games. I'm really thrilled to see some Shuffle commentary coming into those games tomorrow.
We need a little bit of a break as well, don't we? Shuffle FM, the perfect guy to do it. So glad that he took that offer given to him last night. Very, very wonderful to see him. Whilst his tournament life has been snuffed, his tournament presence is with us forever.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to let the players know we are ready to begin. So we will get into game one momentarily right now. Right, I'm just having a look at Adelbot pressing ready, so it's just up to Mangle to pick a composition right now. Nobody can see what Mangle is doing, by the way, because I'm not streaming that yet, and we will just get started with those battles.
Casual reminder again for Mangle, deafen yourself.
Yeah, Mangle, please do deafen yourself so that you can't hear our commentary. I don't think Mangle needs our help, by the way. But yeah, we have two extremely competent players coming into this matchup, guys. We are ready, set, and go. Let's get started with this tournament, the group stage. Game number one, guys. Mangle versus Adelbot. Who isn't hyped for this one?
Man, this is going to be remarkable. We've seen Adelbot here, one of two absolutely remarkable dark horses coming into this tournament. Him and SBRH, the most powerful unknowns coming in here against Mangled. I'd say one of the fan favourites to take over the Discord, boys. Very, very, very strong player. So active in all of the view games we have over here on this channel during regular streams. So coming in here with this flagellant comp from the Mangled up against that Darkest Mark comp. I think the proliferation of both that heavy DOT damage and the Antiquarian Houndmaster to back that up might actually make it mean Mangled here, if he plays defensively, plays a more control-oriented game, can probably come out with a victory very late in the game.
Yeah. Who do you think takes the series, by the way? Says, who do you think
Mangled,
takes the series?
Mangled.
Okay, I'll go with Adelbot here. I feel he has the number of Mangled. He has the compositions that will deal with Mangled has quite well. Okay, never mind. We have a first dodge here, so a turn wasted effectively for Adelbot. He does actually begin with those shackles, the manacles dropping on the Houndmaster. Does have quite decent amount of dodge, going second on the very first turn of this match. Right, so what do you think Adelbot's win condition for this matchup is right now?
Well, I'd have to say you try and take down that Houndmaster, but it's going to be very difficult to actually fully mark him if you pull him in, especially because of that dodge he's on now, 62 with the guard dog stacked. Even if he lands that comp, they'll pull him into first there, even though he's marked, can't be shot by the Arbalest. The Arbalest here, apart from the Abomination he's chosen not to transfer him to get the early damage out, is really the only character he has that can apply heavy pressure. The Crusader is purely for utility. The Abomination, he tried to use his utility there, didn't quite pay off for him. So I think really he just needs to kill someone ASAP, be it the Antiquarian or the Houndmaster.
Yeah, another problem I feel is that Adelbart's composition. I have played this one a lot, so I can tell you right away, this one doesn't do well against heavy dodge. And probably we'll see quite a lot of dodge from Mangle here, right? We have the Houndmaster already spamming that dodge. We will probably see a Bolster as well, which is quite uncommon normally against a damage dealing composition, which obviously here not exactly the case, because he's just trying to get those additional dodges. All those characters by Adelbart have rather low accuracy coming into this game, so it might be fairly difficult for him to handle this match.
No way to buff it either. No way to buff it. Really powerful. The more Mangled here stacks up this dodge, the more Adelbart will be pushed out of the game. He has no way to counter himself. Although he does have reasonably high base accuracy abilities, especially on the Arbalest and the Bounty Hunter, will not be enough to reliably even get a 50-50 hit on this Houndmaster.
Oh, Adelbart passes. What happened?
Lord.
Maybe did he DC or something? That's kind of
He was
weird.
overthinking, I think, maybe.
Was he thinking so long? Because we can see his cursor, right? We just saw his cursor fly by the screen, fly across the screen. So this is just nerves.
That was Mangled Cadavers, I believe, right? What we saw Adelbart do is, did he pick a character? I believe he did.
Yeah, he did, but he just didn't actually use that character in the end. That's very unfortunate. He picks right now.
We saw Adelbart last time, didn't we? Skip one of his first turns. He won that series.
Is it nerves? Do you think he's just taking too much time? Just checking the messages whether, perhaps one of those guys is messaging me that something went wrong, but no, not really. And this is a very serious tempo disadvantage for Adelbart here, because he did have the mark available to himself, which would have potentially marked the MAA here and, opened up for way more damage coming through. Right now, this is not the case at all. This Arbalest doesn't quite do enough damage for turn 1 to be too effective. So I'm not really sure if Adelbart was really planning for this. I mean, I just had to feel he waited too long, or perhaps he had some...
He had 2 passes that turn, right, because he completely missed the stun.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate. He basically missed 2 moves on the first turn of this very important fight number 1, guys. Obviously, remember, this is no longer single elimination. Every single player will get to play 3 matches. 3 best of 3s, basically, to define their standing in the ladder. So this basically means that Adelbart, even if he loses this game here, not in the most dire of spots. However, you have to remember that in the end, if we do have any tiebreakers, every single loss will matter for you so much, because this might be the difference of you making it out of the group and getting the physical rewards, or just being completely removed from the tournament. And then you obviously also lose the ability to contest this final spot, the championship in the Butchers League Season 1.
It's really, really brutal here for Adelbart. We did see him pass and go on to win the series earlier on. Maybe this is just what he does. Maybe he likes to PM a little bit, but against such a cutthroat opponent, Mangled Cadaver here, edgy name, edges the game. He's coming for it, and I reckon, he's got the tools with this comp to win. He's got the tools in his own head to win. I think Adelbart really BM'd the wrong guy.
Yeah, we see a bleed being resisted, however, by this BH, which is very fortunate. A slightly less pressure coming through from Mangle. Obviously, very fortunate for Adelbart here, because he really needs every single advantage he can get right now after this very unfortunate turn number 1. A stun comes through, which might indeed mean the end of this MAA quite soon into the game. Obviously, we have another guard available by the Houndmaster. He might just do it right now. He goes for damage, though. A crit lands across the board as well, which means a lot of stress coming onto this BH especially, and some bleed stacks on top of everything. So this might be 8 damage already on this Arbalest here. Sniper shot comes down, it's a crit for 36, and this has to be the moment in which Mangle actually starts cursing himself up, because he has no way of saving this MAA right now. Absolutely no way. This MAA is just dead to rights. The turn order wasn't too great here. If he rejuvenated earlier, he could have took the man-at-arms. I mean, you need to understand he's probably in quite dire straits the second he gets marked. Although the Man-at-Arms is such a strong character against most teams because of his prep. There we go. Death blow so early on. That's very brutal, honestly. Mangle definitely underestimating his opponent, using the 10 order to his own disadvantage, I think.
He's playing so fast. Look at him play.
But losing this MAA is absolutely crucial for him. This is such a big loss for the man. I feel like this might be the decisive moment in the game, honestly. This MAA just going down so early into the game, not dropping any bellows, not forcing the Arbalest to use any of those flares so far. It is going to be very difficult for Mangle to take over this game right now.
I mean, it doesn't take that many attacks to kill anyone with this team that Elon Musk's running. It's so explosive. Mangled here, not putting on a single rejuvenating vapors.
Yeah.
That's so risky. You're a dodge team. If you get hit, you're probably going to die. Even if it doesn't crit, we've seen non-crit Arbalest hits for 30.
Right. I would really like to see this Houndmaster guarding the MAA perhaps instead of going all in there. Obviously, Tiller provides you with the ability to penetrate through guard, but still, this might have been a dodge then. Or
it gives you perhaps another coin flip on Deathstall, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, forces the BH to use the Caltrops, which means then you get a 50-50 rather than a 100% dead character. He just doesn't do this, and right now he's going to pay really high price for this. Looks like double stun. This is nothing good for a composition that consists of 3 characters only right now. Dire strays from Angle here.
Absolutely. I mean, how do you throw away a game where your opponent passes twice in the first turn?
Yeah.
Mangled playing so fast, I think really here, already in his head, considered this a done game just by that point. Really underestimating Edelbart here. One of these dark horses again. And man, I think, based on this performance, just in this game alone, if Edelbart can overcome that deficit, it looks like Mangled might really need to push hard in these next games to avoid getting tie breaks out.
Right, especially you have to remember that Edelbart did miss out on a 10 and did miss those chains in the very first turn. So this basically comes down to the fact that Edelbart, despite having this very significant disadvantage, guys, missing a single 10 is big. Like losing out on 2, absolutely crucial.
And on turn 1 as well.
Yeah.
So much more punishing on turn 1.
Which is the opener, right? Which basically allows you to start your strategies, get those marks down, start executing your plan. You miss out on 2 crucial moves. This is so much trouble. Edelbart able to claw his way back into this game right now. You have to feel those rejuvenating vapors. Too little too late. Right, again, this is just so little.
It's not so early that it helps cover the incidental damage on the Houndmaster and Flagellant, but it is late to the point where you might be able to put some dodge there again.
Yeah.
You know, wouldn't have broken through. Maybe he would have taken 1 hit at Deathstall anyway. You would have wanted to use those either later or sooner than that. But right now, in the kind of hinterlands where you really do not want to be using ability like that, especially when your antiquarian in the back is at full health.
Right. I mean, you have to feel that Mangle still has a chance in this game because he's forced to play passive, heal a little bit, perhaps not the right decision here as well. He's taking a lot of DOTs. And this Houndmaster extremely dodgy. Again, dodge number
47 dodging, only 47 dodge.
Right, I mean, that's not too little considering, you know, Edelbart does not really have a Jester on his own, so...
It's lucky for the triple though, right? This Houndmaster we've seen him dodge, triple stun there.
Well, just has to kind of play knowing that this might happen, right? That's just how it goes against the side dodge compositions, especially if you pick a comp like Edelbart did here. The Darkest Mark, not the most accurate comp in the world. It will miss a lot. You just have to account for that somehow. Obviously very unfortunate right now for Edelbart because he's taking a lot of damage, right? And this might, despite this fortunate kill on the MAA 10-2, still not be a solved or decided game. You have to feel like Mangle might even be holding an advantage right now. Look at this, Absolution comes down. This is not helping you, man. If you play slow into what Mangle has right now, it's just going to demolish you, absolutely demolish you. Look at this. He has so much regeneration right now. He has so many DOTs stacked across the board. You can't outpace this. You have to take the momentum, you have to take the game to your opponent, you have to take over those stuns, risk a little bit, just win the game before it's too late, because right now we are getting into too late territory, I feel.
How often do we see these mark comps, and this comp here not even with a Jester, so it's not like he's wasted a Finale and now can't get a second kill. He's just a little bit too scared to get the second kill there. There are so many things he could have done with that Abomination, transform him, push someone back, and then maybe guard break the Antiquarian.
Absolutely, he has the net. He can push the Flagellant anywhere he wants, really. This is, by the way, no snap on the Flagellant, so it's so easy to displace this character.
40% stun resist, 40% movement resist, 55 stun rather.
Yeah, but 20% when you take into account the Raytress net that Abomination is holding right now.
Absolutely, the Rotarius' net there. Really odd pick. Really odd pick.
No,
I've not seen too many on him.
Okay, I used to run this because it was very comfortable against like all those lepers, right? I really enjoyed moving the lepers back to Brazil. However, you can see Edelbart capitalize with the stun, with very solid rotation of abilities, and he does indeed get this Flagellant down in the end. But this is so much damage coming through though. Mangle here, really hesitating as to which turn to pick right now. He goes for the Houndmaster here. He might just get a kill here, which he does not. Kind of unfortunate for him, obviously. Losing this MEA so early, man. This is such an unfortunate turn of events for Mangle here.
I mean, Mangled here perhaps still has a chance with its Antiquarian clutch, untouched here at the back. Still has a couple uses, I believe, of her defensive stealth ability. Will get countered by the Arbalest here. But again, we are seeing no horror stacked up on Adelbart's team. So really, if he's using these turns defensively from Mangled here, not much is being done apart from these very small right now bleeds and blights ticking down. Something that you can easily out-heal with a Battlefield Bandage and also clear these bleeds. No real way to reapply major bleeds either. Only the Houndmaster here. Only be doing, I believe, 2x3, which really isn't enough to threaten the Crusader here, unless we get to somewhere like turn 12-ish. Do you think we can manage that? I'm not so sure we can.
I don't know.
Bounty Hunter to pull in the Antiquarian as well.
Yeah, you really don't see dodge on come hither too often, do you? Because it's a very high accuracy skill. So getting this one to miss actually is very fortunate as well for Mangle. He has been dodging a lot in this game. You know, granted he has 40 dodge on the Antiquarian, he has about 47, 48 on the Houndmaster. That's almost something you'd expect to happen. But it is quite uncommon to get this many dodges, even if you played a somewhat heavy dodge composition here.
Adelbart here overcame so many missed turns, so many past turns here. I really, really hope Sticky Blood is taking great note of this. Because I've got to imagine here that Adelbart perhaps played half as many character turns as Mangle did. Still able to take it home now in such an impressive and dominant fashion.
Yeah, crucially here we see a lot of healing coming through. That's a dead blow on 75% dead blow resistant. Abel does a crit as well.
That might actually be enough to really turn the tables here. Mangle has still got a great chance to win it now.
Yeah, Adelbart, I feel like he was taking the risk right now. This is the risk he should have taken long time ago, and then it might have paid off. Right now he tried to heal too much, not do enough damage, and resulting in that we have a kill on the Abomination of Adelbart and the very first shot that Mangle takes. And right now it's a 3v2 with a heavily hit Adelbart's composition here. They're like on 10-20% HP tops here.
Oh, and again! That is very, very unlucky. That Bounty Hunter, I believe, come hither at 110 or 120% base accuracy.
Yeah.
Still reasonably likely to hit that, to get these many dodges in a row from Mangle. Very, very, very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Auto Num Num Num, thank you for the follow, my man. Coming back into the game here, this Crusader, I'm not really sure what he wants to do with that. Does he go for a healing here? Does he go for a stun? Because Adelbart, it felt like he was gonna win this game, honestly, like with the very first skill, and you know, this Flagellant going down somewhat effortlessly for him.
Do this right. Thankfully, you are healing both of them out of Death's Door there, so that's really, really good turn economy. Even though it will be traded 1-for-1 with that Houndmaster's Harry, maybe the Bounty Hunter can survive another turn without being put down.
Right. He really does need to stun the Houndmaster though right now. This is kind of the problem, right? Losing one character, losing that A-Bone so early means he no longer has access to two stuns. He can only stun one opponent. It's another death blow on Adelbart's Arbalest, yeah. So
Adelbart, his tempo and his kind of gear changes have been so odd. He's went as fast as he can in some points and then slow back at other points, and really, with the amount of turns he passed at the start, the amount of dodges he's had, some would say almost impossible for Adelbart to really have won that game when Mangle is getting so lucky even now.
So late for those caltrops, though. Imagine dropping them 10-1 right now. Everybody would have had 16 HP less than they do right now. And this just means that perhaps this Houndmaster would have been dead. And this, obviously, by the way, he missed the 10 number 1 on this BH. He could have just done the caltrops there. And this game would have looked entirely in a different manner right now, because those characters would be way more hurt, and this would be way, way easier for Adelbart to control the pace of the game. Right now, though,
it's also too late, Mike. He's not really got a chance to score a death kill now, a death blow rather now with it, does he?
No, there is no way he can actually get anybody to die. I feel like this is just, especially that he keeps slowing down for some reason. He should really be risking this. Just go berserk next turn, try to get rid of this Houndmaster as soon as humanly possible, and go from there. Right now, however, this Houndmaster is not gonna get any less dangerous, man. Like, he's going to just accrue those huge stress debuffs. He's going to get you bleed and hurt so much. And obviously you can stun him as much as you might want, but right now it doesn't quite seem that this is going to be enough.
I would not have minded a guard dog there. I'm not entirely sure that bleed or blight damage on the Crusader would have put him down. A guard dog there would have put you into the 70 dodge range. Then, I think you take that chance every time here. You've got the Antiquarian who can throw out the Festering Vapors instead.
Right, I mean, Adelbart is probably going to be forced to heal again, right? That's another thing you really have to take into account right now. And Adelbart can no longer play this in the efficient manner where he picks the BH first. This is a resistance stun, by the way, very unfortunate for Adelbart. But you can no longer pick the BH first, because then you just lose the BH, who is like at 45% death blow resistance right now, to this Antiquarian. So we see a safe play from Mangle. You have to feel this is the right decision to make as well. You just play it safe and slow at this point. You don't want to lose any characters. And this basically outpaces the stun as well. I mean, outpaces, sorry, the bleed of those Caltrops here. And again, another dodge. This man is getting every single dodge you can get. Seriously, 40 dodge, not that much. Right now, he feels like 100 dodge at the very least. So kind of
taking into account the -10 accuracy from being a Death Store as well, but still remarkable.
Yeah. So Mangle is indeed getting somewhat lucky in this game, you have to feel like. At the very start, not so much, but right now in this ending, in those end game 10s of this matchup here, looks quite brutal in terms of luck for Adelbart. Another dodge, can you believe this, man? Obviously 0 HP, quite high accuracy debuff, followed up by a lot of the, you know, debuffs coming from the Affliction as well. So there's a lot that Adelbart has to be working with right now. However, you have to feel this is all but over right now.
Absolutely. I mean, some of us said it was over on the first turn with those 2 passes. But realistically, we've seen Adelbart, and come on, that's insult to injury.
No way.
What's going on here, bro?
Yeah, that's kind of insane, isn't it? I mean,
He's only at 37 there as well. He was only at 37 there.
Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of dodge debuffs. I mean, accuracy debuffs on this Crusader. You have to kind of take this into consideration. Also, no route of execution, right? So there is quite a decent loss of an advantage there in terms of the ability to hit those high dodge targets there. So you have to feel that those dodges in the end were somewhat fortunate, but honestly, Mangle handled the end of the game quite well. So okay,
the end of it, indeed, but he did throw the early game away there.
Yeah,
with the
he did. Kill. But he did make a comeback after all, so we can actually remove the composition called Septic Shock from Mangle, since it won a match. Is no longer going to be available in this particular series. So we'll just go into the score that we have in this game right now. So let me just go there quickly, and we'll change the statistics a little bit.
I think looking at this at face value, Adelbart here, I'd say is still 50-50 on it to take the game from Mangled there. The comps remaining for Adelbart really quite strong, and we're going to be pulling them into comps with the likes of Occultiston, with the likes of weaker, perhaps non-meta characters, and Adelbart's heavy mark team there can really burst it down. But again, this is all predilected on the matter of whether or not he can correctly guess what team Mangled will be playing next.
Absolutely. So I feel the players are already going to the game, so let's just jump into it. So
right,
game number 2, guys. I'm just gonna very quickly adjust the score here. Mangle 1-0 in the lead, a single win away from taking over the series right here, right now.
We said before that going for this reverse sweep, it's unlikely to happen. But Adelbart here got very unlucky that game, passed twice very, very early on. So really, I think he still has every opportunity to show us all why this team is so impactful. And here we see very interesting. You see him swap that Abomination's position there, might put him in third. Very, very great.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is kind of an issue though for him, isn't it? Because this Occultist can right now pull the Arbalest forward, effectively placing this Abomination in 4th, and there is no easy way to get out of this position as well, because the pull moves you two slots forward, right? So this Antiquarian would have landed in 2nd. Kind of unfortunate.
That's a very lucky stun resist there. But
right.
Actually, the Arbalest sitting on 80% move resist with the Exotic Snuff.
Yeah, so Mangle gets a taste of his own poison there, so right now, apparently this dodge has turned around a little bit. This negated stun means that, you know, the damage that comes down, not that significant. It is indeed all about that stun that you just don't land, and this means Adelbot does hold a significant advantage coming into this turn number 1. So this opening not going too hot for Mangle, you have to feel.
Do you think Mangled bites the bullet and tries to risk pulling in the Arbalest here? I think if he was going to do that, he would have done it before the... would have done that right off the bat, yeah?
Yeah,
so
I'm not really sure. Actually, there is Snuff on this Arbalest, so that's not such a safe pull at all. It might not be the best idea to just waste a 10, so maybe he just goes for the Abyss Artillery, right? This might be the case.
I don't believe he's running Abyssal Artillery, Mike. It's a very, very interesting skill setup on this cultist here.
Right, so we'll just say...
He's more powerful in rank 2 though here. All of these abilities able to use from rank 2. The only one not able to use from rank 1 is the push there. The Stygian Embrace, the heal, and the mark, all still useful and potent abilities in rank 1. But you don't want to be using this Stygian Embrace too much unless you really are pushing down the stress route here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I used to feel that this misplaced or displaced Crusader really going to head Adelbart. Sorry, is going really to head Mangle here, because this means that he can no longer use the Zealous Accusation, he can no longer stun, and honestly, Mangle doesn't quite care about the damage you have to feel, right? So he's mostly about those huge spikes of stress, which he no longer is able to inflict, and also he loses a lot of control because this BA just reigns supreme and goes into a rampage here. I feel this might be just a killing blow on this Occultist very early on. This is why the Occultists aren't exactly considered to be the strongest characters in the game right now, simply because they're so squishy, so easy to take down. And obviously, like, if you lose this Occultist so early into this match again, I don't feel this is going to be a very similar game to one that we saw when the MAA just dropped down, right? Because this right now means there is no bolster. The dodge across the board for Mangle not so high anymore. It just feels very, very annoying to play against Adelbart right now, because you just don't seem to have too many options, too many avenues back into this. We are seriously behind in tempo after that missed stun on turn 1, and absolutely Adelbart is going to take over this one. You can see a stun come down as well. There's no way to remove those stuns right now. This Occultist is basically going to pray right now that this Arbalest doesn't just drop enough damage on his back. Because honestly, I feel like this is just going to be a sniper shot into a swift execution. Also, this Crusader can still drop some sort of an ability. Maybe on the front line of Mangle, honestly, just dropping the Zealous here. Or just getting a lot of control of a stun on the Flagellant might also be the way to go for Adelbart here. So he has a plethora really of options here coming into this turn on the Crusader. You have to feel he's just going to stun someone. This is a stun on the Occultist. Might have been played slightly differently. You could have waited for the Arbalest to do the damage to the Occultist just to see what exactly he's working with right now. This though, however, guarantees that this Occultist goes down, right? There is nothing stopping the characters of Adelbart from delivering swift death onto the Occultist here. We can see the darts coming down on the BH here. You have to feel, again, not that impactful, honestly, because there isn't that much damage on the Adelbart's composition. He has been also able to control this match extremely well. So Adelbart here goes for a sniper shot, you have to believe, and takes down the Occultist very, very quickly here, following up with the BH's finish him ability. There is no recourse for Mangle here. He has no ways of preventing this from happening, so it's just going to be a very, very dead Occultist on 10 number 2. Very nicely executed.
Rap God Mike there, Rap God Mike, taking it almost all the way to the end of the game, I believe. Not sure if Mangled is going to have the tools to really take this home, even though he has the Flagellant there. Very, very strong sustained character. There's lots and lots of damage, especially with the Hemlock on there. Got higher accuracy with the Crown there, the Crown of Thorns. But again, this Crown of Thorns will be doing damage to him with the that 50% bleed chance. While it does push him into the range where he can exsanguinate, it also means that he's going to be dying a lot quicker. Against a team like Adelbart's, I think really you want to try and stay alive as long as possible. Because one hit from that Bounty Hunter on Death Store and you are gone. Does not matter if you have 80% death blow resist or 5% death blow resist, does it?
True. So let's just see how it pans out with Adelbart right now, because he has to go forward with this, right? He is bleeding out all his health right now, and if you give a Flagellant an inch, he'll take a mile. So he goes for a stun here. This might be a very quick kill setup coming over from Adelbart, because this Flagellant already use his turn so he can no longer remove the stun, he's not going to be able to act.
Also, that Grave Robber, by the way, no lunge. No lunge.
No.
A lunge would have been so impactful. Maybe one lunge crit to go alongside that Holy Lance you thought he would have had to use anyway just to get that stun control. Really could have changed the entire tempo of this game. Could have potentially even killed one of Adelbart's characters, rather than having his occultist be knocked out so early onto this game.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, but you have to feel this Flagellant is probably going to die before he takes his turn at this point, because he is stunned at this moment here. He is not going to be able to act the next turn either. And this means that up until 10-5, he will not be able to use Exsanguinate. Obviously, you have to take into account the fact that this Crusader might still restun the character, so it is indeed looking quite dire. We can see a stunned and marked Grave Robber, by the way. This might be a secondary target really for Adelbart. He heals a sniper shot here, and this actually misses. So kind of fortunate for Mangler here, getting that miss come through. This means this Grave Robber is not entirely dead just yet. However, this stunned Flagellant, as we said, until 10-5, unable to act. He might just still get stunned once more, because 100 stun resistance against a Crusader might prove not to be sufficient, right? There's like a decent chance that he just gets to restun this character once again. Okay, decent is an overstatement. Is it 15%? Might be just 15% there. Still a possibility, nothing unseen before, right? You can also just go for a lot of damage, so I feel like Adelbart could potentially just go for his Zealous Accusation here with the Crusader, follow up with a very smooth kill on one of those targets, because I just have to feel that one of those guys is just going to drop to 0 HP from a single accusation, and the Crusader is very unlikely to heal both. Also, Adelbart goes for the stun on the Crusader right now, which means that Mangler is just unable to act on any of those characters. One of those people is definitely going down this turn. I would just bet my ass on the Flagellant going down, though. I feel like this is the priority target. If you get a shot at killing the Flagellant, just go for it.
Absolutely. I mean, this Flagellant, the priority target number one, for the sheer fact that lots of his value is baked into these abilities that you can only use twice a battle for Exsanguinate and for Redeem, I believe, which heals an unbelievable amount of health. When it crits, that can full heal both of you back up, save you another turn or even two against this team. But here we're seeing the Grave Robber be focused down with the Arbalest, because obviously the Arbalest are unable to effectively target that position 1 Flagellant here. So it looks like the Grave Robber might be dying first. That, in a way, for Mangled is a lot better than the Flagellant dying first, just because of the fact that Flagellant Crusader, very powerful combo to have until last 2 people alive. The Crusader, yeah, and there she goes, there she blows. The Crusader able to stun and heal, the Flagellant able to heal and do so much pressure.
So what does Adelbart go here for? Like, does he just land the guaranteed damage, or does he go for this 15% stun as well?
I think he goes for the stun, Mike. I think he might as well be a little bit risky. What do you think?
I'll probably do the same, right? Because you might just lose the art. Okay, he actually goes for a heal. So I just can't agree with this. I would just expect him to go for the heal on the Arbalest at best, right? Because this Arbalest can remove the bleeding. This is your secondary healer. You might just as well lose this turn to a single Holy Lance, because 35% Deviler chance, nothing to scoff at. If you're Mangle, he gets it as well. It is a Crusader taking over the game. You have to feel this is a missed opportunity, because those bleeds, you can no longer successfully or effectively remove them. You just have to wait them out. And you cannot really wait out Flagellant's bleeds, can you?
Not at all. Adelbart here, though, still does have quite a strong control advantage in the fact that he has 2 characters that can stun. Mangled here only having 1, but the only real damage Adelbart has is a stun into finish him combo. If Mangled could have got the stun privilege there, tried to apply some stun pressure onto that Crusader, make it so the Bounty Hunter can't do a crit that takes you down from full health, he would have been a lot better off than he is now. I do not want to see heal there. I want to see him play very aggressively. I want to see him exsanguinate someone, really apply the pressure, force that Crusader to heal, because we've seen Adelbart healing an awful lot before. I'm not sure that was the right play.
Yeah, the problem for Adelbart, though, is that, the problem for Mangled was that if he had actually let this Crusader or the Flagellant not get healed this turn, either of them, he would have just lost one of those characters, because this Abomination still able to transform, do enormous amounts of damage there. And this probably can take the Crusader to 0 HP, which in this case would have basically cost Mangle the game. And right now he does still stand a decent chance, a decent shot at winning this. Obviously the Flagellant still might get restunned once again. Adelbert actually concedes that opportunity here, you have to feel, right? So there might still be a stun coming down by the... I guess the Crusaders to go first right now. We have to just stun Mangle's Crusader back once again. Now, you really, like, you can see this very passive play coming out, and you really cannot agree with this, can you, Sis?
I mean, we've seen him heal more often than not, so while we can't agree with it, I think it is to be expected, especially if your Mangled Cadaver is well there. This is why I said we don't need to go for the heal there. We apply pressure. Adelbert will play defensively. This is another one of these things that you can do with your opponent. You can read how they play, and you can really exploit that. Mangled here, maybe not quite doing that well, but regardless of what's happening, Adelbert's proclivity for healing, playing more passively, is biting him here. Because really, this Flagellant Crusader, probably one of the strongest two-men combos to be facing as the last man standing.
Yeah, you have to feel like Mangle with his back against the wall is an absolute monster. You put this man in a situation without a way out, he'll find that way out. He's just doing this right now in this particular game. He did it before. Feels like, again, this is no longer Adelbert's controlled game. This is a game that can be very well lost and won by both of those players. We can see this Afflicted BH, by the way, acting out a little bit. He might just die to a single death blow as well. We have seen this happen before. Obviously, as another miss, by the way, so it's kind of a curse for Adelbert here to feel, right? He has missed so many attacks in this series so far. It's just so brutal here. We don't see Devil coming back though, so Adelbert still has some semblance of control coming into this turn. He might just land a stun of the... you have to feel this, like this might be a stun and a heal coming down. This basically prevents the characters of Adelbert from going down entirely. You can also just reactivate the BH right now, let those damage ticks just go down, which he obviously does. And this basically means right now for Adelbert that he is safe to heal and do whatever he wants with those characters. This might be a very heavy blow again. Indeed, this Crusader does suffer quite a lot of damage.
But so, I mean, not that much damage really, looking at the amount he could have taken, especially due to the plus damage on finishing there.
Yeah.
I think Mangle here took two quite luckily low hits on the Crusader there. Both of them could have put him down to death still. Would have been a really different story.
I mean, I would have really liked to see the Hard Seeker on the BH. It's such a potent item, quite recently discovered as a powerful option, right? People were not really considering this one a viable thing to use. Right now, however, we see more and more of those items being applied on the battlefield, and you just have to feel like this stun could have actually, again, turned this fight around. Right now, the entire control is passed over to Mangle once again. And it just doesn't feel too great, right? Obviously, Adelbert in control here heavily. He has a 0 HP Crusader on the opposite side of the battlefield here. Probably able to remove this Crusader from the fight quite soon. And still just healing here, I don't think this is reasonable. He should be just applying pressure, applying stuns, getting things done. So obviously...
Well, not only did he pass the stun there, he could have got a death blow on the Crusader. Really done. Really damage. It was a double-edged sword that he could have taken.
But Mangle just gives up the Crusader though.
It does give him this stun advantage, though, if only for the one turn. Maybe if you are that Flagellant here from Mangle, you go, I've got it stunned with it. Yeah, he's dead.
It's over. I feel this is over. Like, Adelbert managed to stay alive long enough to just take over the game entirely. I don't think there's a way for Adelbert to come back to lose this right now. Mangle is definitely going to take this loss right now. We'll see a 1-1 on the scoreboard. And potentially game number 3 is on the cards, which I'm very excited for because those games are the best. Like, those players once again absolutely delivering here. Although this game has been way RNG, way less RNG heavy than the previous matchup here. The previous one was heavily defined by those dodges. This one here, however, Adelbert just dominates. Maybe a bit too slow, maybe slower than you would like to see it, but still he just performs extremely well. And yeah, he just controls this game from the start to the end, right? He didn't miss a tent, he didn't miss a beat in this game, and he is absolutely taking over. So this slow play by Adelbert that we are criticizing actually pays dividends in the end. Maybe too safe, you have to feel, but, you know, with your tournament life on the line here, maybe not yet, but still, like, you really don't want to lose a series 2-0, right? You just want to take a single game out and maybe, just maybe, get things down. So we can see a Rage coming down as well here. This Flagellant taking quite heavy beating here. This might be enough damage to just finish him from the get-go here. So a stunning blow comes through, and this is going to be the BH just finishing the Flagellant and taking us to game number 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Looks like Adelbart here might be one of the very few people actually able to perform a reverse sweep against none other than Mangled Cadaver. Such a powerful opponent.
Yeah, true.
One of the invited spots as well, right? We're seeing the first matchup of an invited spot versus one of these people who's came up through the qualifying stages, already proven their mettle.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And those were by no means games that, Mangle had complete control of, right? The first game, not at all a stomp by Mangle, right? Whereas the second game was sort of a stomp by Adelbart, you have to feel. So, yeah, right, Adelbart just performing up to the expectations, right?
Almost a free win, right? Almost a free win for him, given on the those two passes at the start here. So Adelbart, in a game where he's actually able to use every turn, really taking it home.
True. So we see 1-1 right now in the head-to-head here. We shall see whether this changes in game number 3, which I feel the players might be just very soon ready for. What is your read on the compositions coming into this one?
I'm not sure, really. It's anyone's guess. I would say right now, if you're Mangled, you just take something that feels the most comfortable for you. You play it slow. You try and really bite out the advantages Adelbart is presenting to you on a silver platter here. I mean, he's choosing to heal all the time. Very, very easy read to attack, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, we have to see a change of approach from Adelbart. He has to pivot into one of the stress compositions right now because his only damage league composition left was banned as well, just by the dint that it won the game right here. So we'll just see one of those heavy stress comps coming down as well. There is a Mangle comp on Adelbart's side, actually not really a Mangle comp per se, but a very very strong stress comp nonetheless. So you might just see this happen right now where Adelbart is forced out of his comfort zone perhaps, and we'll just see how he performs on those stress teams, facing one of the stress teams or at least a very heavy DOT team by Mangle here.
Just something to take note of as well, looking at the names of these teams, Adelbart coming in with Good Luck, Have Fun, Mangle coming in with Septic Shock, Sloppy Punishment, Gut Skip. Are these all things I'm meant to do with my girlfriend, Mike? What on earth is Mangle naming his comps after here, pal?
I mean, his full name is Mangled Cadaver. This might have something to do with that. So we're going into game number 3, guys. The deciding match between these two guys. Let's just see which of them is indeed able to take it home and who takes the first lead in Group 1. How do you feel about those compositions, Sis?
Boy, oh boy, this is a reasonably interesting matchup. I love to see an occultist, love to see that grave robber again. Mangle Cadaver, he's had the one shot to take it home with this. Game theory would state, you know what, he might take it home now. Adelbart here, on the other hand, though, very, very, very powerful stress kind of AoE team here with the Bleed and Blight from the Antiquarian, the Houndmaster, and the Beast Ball here, really, really going to slowly rob Mangle Cadaver away.
True. I mean, you have to just feel that this is the very same situation we were in before as well. Considering this Abomination again, row 3, kind of easy to predict for Adelbart that she'll be playing against an occultist, right? It's like 1 and 2. I feel like Mangle just picked this composition because he knew this was going to be a success to some extent. So seeing this pool right now, this forces a lot of momentum to shift into Mangle's favor because right now you just have to fade away. So take cover with this Antiquarian just to set the Abomination back in place, right? So this is a slight momentum shift. I feel like Mangle just takes over the lead here coming into turn 1. Because, you just waste a single character's turn effectively doing this. Because you do not really need to hide if you are Adelbart's Antiquarian here. There's nothing that threatens you right now. You just need to shift back just because of this Abomination being out of place. So he just repositions his character. A dodge comes down, however, by this Houndmaster of Adelbart, and this indeed means that another shift of momentum takes place. A Blackjack comes down as well. This Grave Robber is stunned indeed, and Adelbart does take a decisive lead turn 1. You have to see this opener going very well for Adelbart.
Absolutely, that jacked Blackjack powerfully putting down that rank 3 Grave Robber. Mangle Cadaver here, a very, very veteran player, but something a lot of people don't know is the only 2 people who can stun rank 3, apart from the Abomination with his Manacles rather, is the Houndmaster with that physical Blackjack from rank 2. Really quite an odd ability. You'd expect that only to hit the first two, but again, really playing so usefully at Adelbart. Needs to really control this team more. He really wants to try and control that Flagellant as well. Because if that Flagellant is not kept in check, Adelbart's backline will be going right down.
Quite crucially so, this move is resisted, by the way, so this Flagellant is not going anywhere. Obviously, there are some ways for Mangle to reset the layout of the characters in the fight, so he has the Grave Robber who can just move back and give some space for the Flagellant in row 1 and 2, so it would not have been like a desperate situation for Mangle by any means, but obviously some sort of control here. Granted that he also resists the Blight here by the Abomination, which means that he doesn't quite take that much damage on this turn right here. So you have to just wonder what exactly is going to happen for Mangle right here. Whether he just goes for more pressure, whether he just tries to get some control with the Crusader stun perhaps. It's kind of an open book here. He has a lot, so we have seen a lot of those of the blades, sacred blades being taken by the Crusaders despite being played on the stress compositions. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's such a unanimous trinket, right? It's everywhere where you see the Crusader. It's not only unanimous, it is ubiquitous. In what it does everything. No other trinket, I believe, has that perfect kind of itemization, apart from maybe the Rite of Execution.
Yeah, also on Crusader, right?
Yes. Seeing why the Crusader is so highly picked in this tournament. Very useful all-round character, can do anything you want here. High bleed resist as well. Probably going to resist. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Resisting the Houndmaster.
Yeah, Crusader has just the best trinket choice in the game. You have to be like his other trinkets that we have in the game, kind of okay as well. The standard, the shield, you know, they are decent. But honestly, like those two, the Rite of the Execution and the Blade, are ultimate trinkets, ultimate choices for you to just go. Like they're basically go-to items for every single matchup. Like I really don't really consider people using something else on the Crusader just because it just doesn't make sense, right? Those two provide such a high burst of stats, so much utility that you just don't want to be taking anything else.
Look at how low this Flagellant is though. Maybe a few more turns that Flagellant's going to go down. Mangle is going to use these per battle abilities so early on. Round 2 and that Flagellant's going to have to be healing or exsanguinating. Maybe Adelbart has pulled the trigger on the gun, pointing at his own head here, pushing that Flagellant down into exsanguinate range. It's so scary.
Yeah, but like if you do it once as a stress combo, it's not so easy to do it again, especially if he gets this 24 or even 36 crit heal, right? So we might just see this Flagellant comfortably shrug it off, you know, land a very heavy bleeding, because exsanguinate is an incredibly potent ability in terms of the damage. Obviously accuracy not the strongest suit there, but honestly the damage that it does will shred anybody, including the MAA.
Kill the Houndmaster. I think we can, one ability, one turn can probably kill the Houndmaster.
I'm actually surprised this flash powder goes onto the Crusader. I would definitely try to, you know, just blind the Flagellant there. Because if you do this, you're successfully able to just remove the Flagellant's accuracy. You just force him to heal, which he really doesn't want to do.
I think maybe he's trying to force an early affliction on Mangle's Crusader here. Does have the chance to Virtue because of that Sacred Blade, but if he does get afflicted, more often he's going to pass instead of stun.
Oh,
things like that.
That's so he has not taken Zealous Accusation on this Crusader. It's such a big mistake by Mangle. He's playing a stress comp of sorts, right? He's not using the Accusation at all. So, and honestly, you don't really need to, like, he probably didn't read into the compositions available to Adelbart, because you do not need the Bulwark of Light against what Adelbart has.
I mean, brutal, right? Even then, why would you Bulwark? I think against the stress comp, how much physical damage are you taking? Look
None.
At these DOT on you, right?
But why would you take it into the match? That's the real question, man.
Well, you know, maybe Mangle didn't take enough time in these pre-games. I think he might be a bit tilted, you know. He did kind of get rolled in that last game.
Absolutely,
Even when he was thinking, Adelbart was making some silly decisions. So Mangle here isn't a
Oh.
character that likes to heal play too defensively. So he wouldn't have liked that from Adelbart here.
True. So
Look at this time to burn down though, Mike. Look at that. Look at that. You love to see it, especially at this part of the tournament. Mangled here, really taking the time he needs to think. Really, really proud.
It was just so unfortunate, frankly. Like, kind of a sloppy decision making by Mangle overall. Like, not taking that Zealous there. I'm so baffled by that. Like, it's basically obvious that you're playing against Stress or DOT. So why would you ever remove the Zealous Accusation, take Aegis instead? Or Bell. I mean, this is Bulwark of Light. Sorry, right? That's so unfortunate. for him to have that ability. Obviously, this pull here might result in a stunned Antiquarian potentially, but still, this is so little damage like the Mangle has been able to do compared to the amount of pressure he did indeed take here, right? He's under a lot of stress. He also had to take a lot of blight and bleed stacks. He is low HP on quite a few characters here, so you just have to feel like Adelbert has his number here, and Mangle just didn't do the right things at the right time. Like this strategic choice, like this is why the deck system is such a nice tool to basically express your skill in the game. It just allows you to plan strategically ahead.
We keep harping on here about how Mangle's maybe even lost that game because of the bulk of light, but I'm really not quite so sure. Mangle here playing ostensibly, I believe, a DOT stress hybrid, more heavily focused, more heavily weighted here on the DOT aspect rather than the stress aspect here, given an opportunity now again to drop that Exsanguinate out on the Houndmaster, going to wow.
Yeah, the question is on whom do you drop the Exsanguinate, right? You have two high dodge characters over there in the front, so maybe this was just...
25 dodge isn't that high when you've got the 15% accuracy Crown of Thorns. I think that heal was monstrously preemptive. Really a useless heal on the Grave Robber there. I wanted to use it.
But do you really want to put your life on the line? Because losing this Flagellant at this point might probably cost you a lot. Oh, this is super fortunate, by the way. This Antiquarian passes here, so Mangle might just take an opportunity to pounce right now. And he probably will just do so. He's just gonna go for a stun right here. He's gonna take this kill, I think. You just have to feel this is the moment in which you just take the kill.
These afflictions, though, we've seen him be flash powdered on it now. No,
he pounces, he doesn't get it though. And this means that right now Adelbert is in a lot of trouble. He can only guard this character right here. Oh, this is also another afflicted act out, so he can no longer guard this. So he's just trying to minimize the damage that comes through. And this means that right now this Flagellant once again acts out, stresses the Soundmaster even more. So right now we can see Mangle slowly but steadily perhaps taking over the game indeed.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen the Stygian Embrace here from the Occultist in a team that doesn't do a giant amount of stress outside of that Grave Robber, and we've not seen him use it. This is one of these uses per battle abilities, things you want to be leveraging or you're not getting the full value out of the characters.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Mangle is making the right strategic plays in terms of not only that meta decision before with the Bulwark of Light, but also this more kind of meta decision in this game isn't of itself in terms of not using the Stygian Embraces, even just on the Grave Robber, to maybe try and push the Antiquarian to Afflicted right now. She's guarded though, so
the problem is
late.
You have to feel like Adelbert once again kind of overreacted here. Like he tends to do this, right? He just plays this overly safe as well, where he just drops everything, like all the eggs he has in his basket on this Antiquarian, trying to just make sure she doesn't die too soon. Adelbert here goes for a beast buy. I would expect him to stun, honestly, considering his general play style. And especially that this Antiquarian is indeed under siege. But this Flagellant here just comes down to perhaps punish the Houndmaster is probably the optimal play here. You don't really want to be taking that many DOT stacks on this Flag. So perhaps just going for this punish is going to be a better call here. He does go for a lot more AoE DOTs though, and he is punished for this. He takes a lot of blight and bleed. So this is going to be a potentially dead Flagellant very, very soon. He cannot keep healing every single turn, right? This just doesn't work mathematically for the guy. So we might just see the Flagellant go down quite soon here.
I think this Flagellant has been underutilized. Look at how safe this Houndmaster is in the first row right now. If he'd thrown off to Exsanguinate's on him instead, we'd be seeing an entire team from Adelbert here, all of whom are reasonably within that threat of dying, ticking down to the DT damage. Right now, even if all of Adelbert's characters die apart from the Houndmaster rather, Mangled Cadaver is at these levels of stress where he might get act outs, he might just die. Weirdly, to this Houndmaster clutch, if we do see it, but I don't really think we will. We've got this really tanky man-at-arms at the back here, able to buff up his own bleed and blight resist if he uses a guard there. So maybe that's the kind of thing he should have been doing earlier, especially against the Flagellant, this Reign of Sorrows thingy, right?
Yeah. I feel Mangle has a decent sort of game sense and decision making here. I've actually seen him do this a lot. He always just pivots onto the MAA here, and he is stacking those dots. This doesn't look like a lot right now, but give this man like a 10 or 2 more, and this MAA is just going to be at 0 HP. So this decision here to just kind of pivot onto the MAA here, you have to just commend Mangle for doing so. Feels like a very, very smart decision to make overall. Obviously, he's taking so much stress damage here that this might not suffice, although his amount of control is quite decent, so he might just be able to scrape by. We shall see.
Absolutely.
Do you want to be healing this? Honestly, when you think about this, do you want to start healing this Flagellant with the Occultist? Because you might just want to kind of try to pivot as well in this sense. Like, you might not want to be healing this Flagellant with, using his own abilities right now. You might just wait for this debuff to healing that he takes for using X-Sang and Redeem to take away completely. Use this Occultist turn once.
The Occultist isn't doing much more, is he? Oh,
yeah,
not
so,
resisting.
Yeah, you can just
stand there, not breaking the guard, not letting him get a
yeah.
final swing and then throwing.
So you can try. You can try to heal, right? Just buy yourself the single 10, allow this Flagellant to just go to town with those guys in the back here, because he can definitely just do a lot of pressure here in this matchup, right? So
you know what, Mike? I think this is where you take the Flagellant, you bite the bullet, but what you do is you follow that up with a Stygian Embrace here from the Occultist, because right now you are at the point where if you get double stress on the 50% stress times 2, so double stress effectively on one Rain of Sorrows, the amount of stress that will deal probably is going to be pushing 2 of these characters into afflictions, and that really would be really useful for him when he's now in a position where almost all of his team is afflicted and acting out.
Yeah, but what a beautiful play by Mangle here, just pulling this Abomination, denying the 10 completely here. This was very good. Like, this is one of those Mangle things that you're scared of. Like, he just senses a single weakness that you have. He just pounces and denies you so much pressure. Missing a 10 at the end game stages of the fights is just the worst feeling ever. This is just such a beautiful outplay by Mangle. Also applying another stack of Hara here on this MAA, meaning that this will be a lot of damage coming through in the following turns. That's such a beautiful play. Just live to see those moments, man.
Exactly. Mangled here is taking the game as aggressively as you can with quite a slow deck. He's trying to control whilst also applying pressure and really denying Adelbar any ability to effectively counteract like he's just done now with that stun. This Occultist didn't have a giant amount to do, but right now it's pulling its weight. It's pulling its weight, right, Mike?
Do you do it again, though? Do you just pull the Antiquarian once more? You just wait for... Oh, no, we can't just... She's guarded, or she's guarded, so that's not gonna work. But it just did so much work for him overall, though. This is just such a heads-up play, right? And seeing Mangle just kind of getting some semblance of control is very good. However, he has to Holy Lance right now to get back into this one. So he might just Holy Lance the A-Bomb, force another defensive play that, you really want to be forcing the stressed player to not apply stress to you, to try to defend themselves instead, and this is exactly what Mangle is doing right now. Obviously, there is a lot of pressure onto that back line as well, given that this Flagellant here has the Rain of Sorrows available, and this means that those guys are not going to be able to heal themselves anytime soon. The only thing you can hope for is this MAA guarding, but right now the MAA activates and goes to 0 HP most likely too.
Exactly, these DOTs Mangle has been able to put out, especially on the Man-at-Arms, a character with reasonably high base protection. Really, it's a phrase we both love saying, paying dividends right now. Mangled has got 3 real targets to try and kill. The Antiquarian on the back row, very defensive, but still you have more than one option to attack her with. You can Rain of Sorrows, go for a killing blow on all 3 of them, really. If he's guarded by the Man-at-Arms, then bingo, that Man-at-Arms going to tick down, get a guard kill on the Man-at-Arms, and even the Abomination in 1 turn, Mike. Fantastic setup.
Yeah, that's like, Mangle is such a good player. He marks the A-Bomb as well, does a lot of damage in terms of stress just because of this Abomination being at death's door. Like, no, this Abomination being at death's door actually applies additional stress debuff, so you take 25%, I think, more stress from every single attack. So this is so big right now for Mangle. He's slowly and steadily taking over the game, though he was at a very serious disadvantage. Right now, this MAA also is going to drop to 0 HP, so just watch this happen right now, the MAA dropping to 0. And there is so little control that Adelbart has. He can just hope for this afflicted actors, but this is basically all there is. I feel like we should also start playing like Mike and Sis Bingo, because we have a lot of those phrases we just overuse, right?
Terry had a great one for me. She said something like, you love to see when the tempo is leveraged so much that it pays dividends strategically.
Oh, that's so much. Oh, you would expect one of those guys to go down, though. This is not the case here. Like, you feel Mangle is missing this staple AoE character on this comp, like an Antiquarian or a Houndmaster. It's a pass from the A-bomb, though. This is an opening right now for Mangle to just absolutely take over this game. Have complete and utter control in this one if he's just able to land a single Reign of Sorrows right here, right now. So does he decide to do this or no? That's a real question for us.
All it takes is one. I think you have to try and take it. You've got enough characters healthy enough right now that you can try and get that. Even if it's a sacrifice for pressure, a 1 for 2, you're still in fantastic stead. The Flagellant there, very high base death blow resist, 5% more than any other character in the game. He's more likely than anybody else to actually take that hit and come away smiling and laughing.
Right, but this Crusader stresses himself, drops to 0 as well, so he gets a heart attack, right, so he might be another victim on Adelbart's kill list here. However, you can see obviously that Mangle is, at this particular moment in time, definitely in control in this game. He has 3 characters at death's door on his opponent's side, and this Occultist potentially can go for a heal here just to take away the pressure from this Crusader. We really don't want to lose this character so early on. This stun is going to just be absolutely huge. This
he
pass,
passes,
however.
Mike. Oh, he passes.
So there's a pass or a pass.
Adelbart got in so much earlier than Mangle. Most of Mangle's team being afflicted so much sooner than Adelbart's. Adelbart right now, just with those 3 afflicted characters now, that Man-at-Arms, very freshly off the presses. But really, Adelbart can still take these into a very, very long clutch stress game with these act outs, and they might just take it. This Crusader here, 1 act out in terms of someone going, hey, I don't like your bread, boom.
That's such a brilliant play. Man, oh no! And it's just kind of counteracted by the Flagellant himself. Like, Mangle, I feel like he just did this on purpose. He knew this was gonna happen. He knew this was gonna heal the Crusader. He did this because he knew this was going to work. Unfortunately for him, though, it does not work. It backfires completely. He really needs to save this Crusader for the future turns.
That's a big hit, but still, that health doesn't really matter at all when he's going to be put right back down to 0.
No, it's going to be 0 HP right now from this Antiquarian. I feel like she's just going to drop the Festering Vapors. This Crusader is going to drop to 0 HP again, and this is also going to...
We're going to see dominoes soon, Nick. We're going to see dominoes. These 3 in the back are going to go tick, 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 right down. Flagella's going to chase him very soon.
Very likely to. Look at how long these games are, by the way. These guys, unlike the previous matches that we saw in the qualifiers, they're really taking their time. Those are 20-25 games easily. This is the darkest one level I'm used to. People just take every single opportunity to just think and strategize, and these guys are indeed doing so. And we can see those flashing daggers not really hitting the mark at all. They do hit the targets, but death blows do not come down. This is so important right now for Adelbart. Just stay alive for a singleton longer. Every single decision right now is worth gold for him. Because this might be the tournament life on the line, guys. Obviously, you can still claw your back if you lose a matchup like this right now in the group stage. But if you're able to win...
Such a tiebreaker this early on. And again, in terms of... Like,
there's a death blow! Oh god, man, very unfortunate.
That Mech decision against take the bulwark of light on the Crusader. Instead of a more offensive ability, we're seeing the flashing daggers taken instead of a lunge that gives you 20% extra death blow, right?
Yeah.
That maybe we could just seal the deal here instead.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's so scary right now for Mangle. Because honestly, guys, losing this game means you are no longer guaranteed to advance. You want to win every single game you play, and this means that you're 100% going to advance to the semifinals and get the physical rewards, guys. Because the 2 people who make it out of the group here are indeed going to get the physical rewards automatically, right? They're gonna land in the semifinals.
There's that many rewards, Mike?
Yeah, we have 4 rewards, so all the semifinalists are going to get their rewards. It's enough to get out of the groups, and this is why there is so much pressure on those players right now.
This is remarkable. And Mangled is so much... I mean, this is a guy we think won't cave to pressure, but I think we have seen him cave to pressure a little bit. When I beat him in the Musukun tournament, he was slightly tilted after. He wasn't the happiest bunny. And I imagine losing this game right now will not put him in the best of mental positions going forward. Especially because Adelbart here has only actually got to play maybe half of his character turns due to the ridiculous amount of passes and dodges we saw early on in this match.
Right, so this is going to be a critical turn for both those players. I feel like this Reign of Sorrows might just decide the game as well. This is a singular death blow, not a double though. So this Antiquarian dies as well actually from stress. It is a 3v2. Mangle takes over, guys. What an insane turn of events. So this domino effect actually just happens, but it doesn't happen for Mangle. It happens for Idlebot. And he's so close from losing this one completely and utterly. Obviously, this might still not be the end of it, because this Crusader is, might not get the stun off.
I mean, one act out does it. One mixture of Bellow and Hound's Harry does it. This Houndmaster is very, very healthy. Mangle Cadaver is going to have to run around chain stunning, and Houndmaster not a character you really want to try and chain stun with 40% base stun resist.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he doesn't go for the stun, he goes for healing. I'm not really sure, maybe the Houndmaster will stun the 10 before, so that's why he didn't go for the stun right away, because he just knew this was going to be a dead occultist otherwise. But this is, again, very scary of a situation. You see a God Dog, though, Adelbert playing defensively where he really is in dire straits. I do not like this. He has to be, like, he's in an absolutely losing position right now.
You need to, Mike, don't you?
Once again?
You need to be aggressive now, Mike, don't you?
Yeah, no, there's like no other way. Like, you have to play forward. And if you don't, you just lose straight away. We see a God from the Houndmaster. This God paying dividends right now. Okay, bingo again, guys. But this might be a stun also dodge, kind of likely. Yeah, it is. 45 dodge again. We see... I feel like this is the Houndmaster syndrome right now from the previous 10. It just, again, just counts to bite you on the ass. Mangle now feels the taste of his own poison from game 1, and this Houndmaster, the dodge god right now, he's going to take over the lead here. Adelbert does have a slight momentum shift, and he might still be able to eke out a lead here and just take over one.
I mean, one of these Hounds Harrys with the correct domino falling from this heart attack, maybe an act out, will put the occultist down, and he's slowly ticking through incidental AoE stress, that flagellant down as well. And when that flagellant is pushed down to death's door, you've got to be worried, right? You've got to be worried, because you only really have single target healing outside of that reclaim that he's already used a couple times.
By the way, this skull lowers your devil resistance permanently, right? So if you actually use this and then fail to heal a character, it gets incredibly scary for you all of a sudden. Like, this is what Mangle is experiencing right now firsthand. Like, he has lowered the HP, the devil resistance using this healing from the occultist consistently throughout the fight. And right now, this might just be a dead character. This is an act out, though. You have to say Mangle has been kind of getting lucky here with those act-outs. He hasn't really acted out that much. Obviously, this healing hit proves to be quite detrimental, but right now, this is not that big of a deal, alright? This is just... You have to feel like, again, a very decent swing in momentum here in favor of Mangle. That pass is
sort of a game, like back and forth, up and down here. Manglebot, both of these guys, you'd love to see them together. They are both going to be, tilted after this game, right? They're going to be shaking on the edge of their seats.
Oh, they're shaky right now. I would be shaky if I were either of them, because I would have known, like, a single misplay right now, a single bad roll of dice as well might just decide my tournament phase.
I mean, more so than that, it will decide, again, this game, if you lose this, you still have a chance to win and you're put into really unfortunate tiebreakers. And also, from these games being watched, people who are participating in the tournament have gained a lot of insight into how Adelbert plays and how Mangled Cadaver plays. So both of these guys, especially for Adelbert, if he does lose, we've seen he likes to heal. That is something that all of the opponents here might choose to target in and hone in on. Adelbert here needs to try and reconsider his game plan, regardless of if he wins or not.
Oh, he hits that down. He gets that Exsanguinate so big. So I feel like Mangle is indeed able to get a decent amount of lead into this one.
I mean, Mike, he gets that because of the dodge debuff that's been constantly applied by the occultist, right?
Yeah. Okay. If you're Mangle, you kind of stabilize right now. You have to feel like you're going to take this game if nothing really terrible, atrocious happened to you. And I feel like this occultist here is indeed kind of working. I'm surprised to see this, but this occultist with the skull, no less, is indeed doing work for him. And he's going to get a stun here, potentially, unless this is another act out. So this might be a Holy Lance coming through. It is a death blow as well.
75%, 10% extra with the Rid of Execution there. Lucky coin flip for Mangle, but he does get it. And I think that just might settle this match, Mike.
Yeah, this is kill confirmed, and this is just a dead Adelbert here. You know, you might get as many heart attacks as you want, you're not gonna kill this this flagellant anytime soon, I feel. And again, like, those guys are quite safe indeed, so I don't think any amount of stress is going to just take them down to 0, unless again an act out takes place and something really brutal happens. So then we see a healing here from the occultist, 22. Doesn't really matter how much you heal, just matters that he does heal for something. Obviously the skull here does guarantee at least a single digit HP heal. This Crusader stuns his teammates, but at the same time he does stun. He stresses his teammate, stuns the Handmaster of Adelbart, and this looks like a very decisive lead here for Mangle right now. This is just going to be a kill sooner or later.
Absolutely. I mean, Mangled Cadaver right now, the only thing he needs to be scared of is the Lord above and his almighty RNG wagon of pain and love. And unfortunately for Adelbart, does not seem we're going to get a pass. Maybe a pass here and an act out could put both of them, both the Crusader and the Occultist. Hold on.
Oh, he stuns the corpse. Fortunate enough, like, he could have just done something else. That's just fine. That's just fine for him, though. So he still has to move. That is just a pass. Yeah. Okay, still nothing.
40% death blow resist on this Houndmaster.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of getting into the scary territory again. This is again scary territory because this means that the... Okay, no, this is just a dead Houndmaster right now. This is not a dead Houndmaster, though. Look at this. Because right now, Hound Scary can kill
190.
No, it can't kill 2, can it? No, it's just gonna be okay. Probably Mango loses the Crusader right now, but that's just all there is.
We say it can't kill 2, but we've seen an act out pass. Perhaps even one of them hits the other one, makes his flagellant go down. I mean, Mike, anything could happen. Boom!
Yeah. Boom. No, that's okay. That's still okay.
And something might happen, Mike. We don't quite know yet.
Right? No. Adelbart is out. He's dead. Why did he not go for the weakening cast? Though I'm kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah, I mean, damn.
Mangle's a bit of a... is he death blow? GG's to Mangle. He takes it. Slow and steady does it for the man, and we are indeed going to finish this series here with Mangle coming out victorious, guys. What an excellent series, guys. Absolutely magnificent
what are you coming in here, pal?
We have Silentia joining us. No, Silentia has to come for the second cast, right? So, guys, the way it's going to work is there's going to be Sis and Silentia casting the second match of the day. Then I will switch with Sis and go together with Silentia. And then again, Sis comes in and switches with Silentia. We're just gonna keep rotating so that every single one of us gets to rest a little bit. And this is not too exhausting and not too taxing.
Only one match.
No. So we just switch.
No, I mean, we've been here for an hour and a half, Mike, and that was one match. Can you believe it, Mike?
Yeah, crazy
Get out the
stuff.
coffee, get out whatever you want, anything that is legal, everyone, because this is a PG-friendly stream. Reminder, Mikefield here is the guy, the #1 boy. Follow him on Twitch, like him on YouTube, join the channel, $2.99 a month. Come on, do it for this. Look at this tournament he set up. Everybody else, so many other streamers in this tournament as well. If you look down in the description, you will see a whole list of them.
Okay, exactly right. So thank you so much for advertising, Sis. We'll see SBRH versus Bagheera right now. I think SBRH is going to be our streamer of the match as well. So SBRH, please join the stream right now. I'm going to get him into here, and we'll just wait for the bans as well to come through. So Eric, aka SBRH, please join the cast. And get ready. And Sis, how do you feel? And also, we're just waiting for Silentia to join the cast as well here.
How do I feel about what, my friend? I mean,
hold on. So yeah, I was just kind of going to bring up the compositions of the two guys here so that you can talk for a little bit while I get things set up for the rest of us here. So go ahead, let's just have a look at the compositions by the two guys. So just give me a second. It's not easy being the only production person on the board. Let's have a look at those decks, man. So it's going to be SBRH versus Bagheera, SBRH streaming. Can you tell me something about the decks? What read do you get from those?
Silentia, just make everyone aware. Silentia, our guy, has joined the cast. Say hello, my friend.
Perfect. Hey, Silentia.
Hello, everybody.
Lovely to see you, my man. You are going to be casting SBRH versus Bagheera, two very powerful players. What do you make of those compositions that you can see on the stream right now?
Let's see here.
SBRH sorry for interrupting you there, but SBRH here has not lost a single game. Not lost a single game. 100% win rate coming in here.
Right, that is very true. And just looking at his comps, it's fairly easy to see why. Like, he has some somewhat unorthodox picks, things such as with the Rocky Roadie comp having a Highwayman in 4th position, However, generally, like all these comps seem to be very powerful. Like you see some of the key characters that are, like have been discussed as being extremely powerful. We see Abomination, Vestals, Arbalists, Man-at-Arms. We even see a Jester in there as well. Just, like all these extremely powerful, very just well-known characters that have shown to perform at an exceptional level. And looking at Bagheera's team, again, like there's some very good and very interesting comps there as well. You have a more standard stress-looking comp with the Moist Boys. And then you have, some, again, more unorthodox comps, things such as the Soaking Boys, which seem to be a lot of damage over time with, like the Jester, most likely going to have a Flagellant and Jester both running Hemlock and, potentially trying to get an early finale just to gain some tempo in advance and allow his DOTs to just continue to stack.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Jester is nothing else. Jester is one of these characters that, when played well, probably will get you the win against a team without a Jester, against a team that is playing very slowly. SBRH only has the one Jester, able to be banned out from Bagheera. That really does make it so Bagheera has all the opportunities in the world to guess what SBRH is trying to play and try and play fast into it with one of his Jester comps if he has to. Get an early win, really secure in that fact. Again, we saw Adelbart in this last series lose out because he lost that first game. So I believe it is now 3 out of 13 people have been able to reverse sweep. That's a really daunting statistic if you are going to lose that first game to a Jester comp.
Very much so. And another thing to mention, like on the side of SBRH only having one Jester, is that even if, like Jester isn't your most preferred character, generally, like, he makes people very uncomfortable when the opponent has it, just simply the threat of the finale, knowing that he can do so many different things, having the harvest, potentially being a high dodge, the battle ballad, just like he's such a versatile character. And only having one means, your opponent is likely to ban that comp. Potentially that, could be seen as a way for people to try and bait it out. Potentially there are other 3 comps they're very confident in, and they're just using the Jester sort of as a red herring. But generally, like not having access to a Jester at all throughout any of the games could be seen, like as a very big detriment, as it allows your opponent to, play a lot of more slow-paced comps without as much threat to them.
Absolutely here, man. I really think that coming into this, Bagheera, if he effectively uses this tournament format that we have here, chooses to ban out maybe the Jester team, maybe even the Flagellant team now, because Flagellant character we saw earlier, one of the highest win rates in the entire tournament. Really,
that is very true.
Scary character to kind of let her live and run amok in your backline, applying so much pressure with or without Hemlock here. So SBRH, I think, has a disadvantage coming into these games versus Bagheera. Bagheera here, I believe, a Spanish powerhouse, potentially even a streamer, coming over from the Misukan side of things. Really fantastic guy to look out for. He's been very active in the Mikefield Discord as well. SBRH here, though. I mean, do you know anything about him? Because I don't think any of us do.
Unfortunately, no. All I've seen is, just the games that he's previously played and what we see in front of us right now with these comps, though. While I may not know, like him and his skill level and all that, just simply seeing his comps right here, I think could very well be a testament to his skill alone. Just, like having such diverse teams that all, looking at his 4 teams, the Vagabonds, the Danius team, the Rocky Roadie, and the Tank and Spank, I don't see a single team here where if you banned it, I would consider it to be a bad choice. All 4 of these comps seem to be extremely powerful, and they all seem to have very niche, uses that you may not be able to prepare for, and all of them having, those...
we see the bans come in here now. Silencio. What do you think of these?
I'd say that they're fairly expected. As we discussed, the Jester is just a very likely pick to be banned. As we saw in the graphics at the start, Jester has actually been banned more times than he's been picked in game. And on the side of SBRH's ban, we see the regular boys being banned, which honestly doesn't surprise me terribly, as throughout the games we have seen that comp be banned a good couple times. It's just looks to be very strong. Has some core characters that you generally don't want to have to deal with. Arbalist, Crusader, but at the same time, Bagheera's other 3 comps all seem to be very threatening. We've seen just earlier in the previous game how useful Occultist can be alongside Houndmaster. Everybody knows the utility of Abomination, and just Man-at-Arms, while he may not have had the highest win rate, is just able to provide such strong support that it's hard to pass him up. And again, I've already discussed the Soaking Boys. Just it has some very interesting, team composition there. Being able to potentially have a strong damage over time build with the early Jester execute to allow you to have that time to build up everything.
I mean, absolutely. Just to correct something I said a little bit earlier, Bagheera is indeed not Spanish and Portuguese. I've been told there is a giant difference between that. But realistically, not to get into the race baiting chat, but come on, boys. You speak the same language? No, you don't. All the Spanish boys in the chat right now, really up in arms. Spam the chat with how much you hate me and how much you want me to die, please. But again, you said these bans were very almost expected. I agree with that in terms of how SBRH's Jester team was banned out here. But SBRH, he's banned out the only Arbalest comp in Bagheera's fucking... Deary me. Starting early, aren't I?
No worries.
The only Arbalest comp here in Bagheera's entire lineup, leaving both Jesters open. I think one of the reasonings behind this, perhaps, is that when you have one Jester against you, if the threat of running into him is present, that is enough to warp how you play. So when there is one, there might as well be 2. And that actually means you can counter the Jester more effectively.
Guys, we're going to the game. Good luck casting this one. Unfortunately, people, this quality of the stream is not the highest because of just the connection that our streamer does have. So you have to forgive us for that one. It's kind of beyond our control. Let's get into this one. Eric, by the way, can you please mute yourself? I mean, deafen yourself so that you do not hear.
Right, deafen.
Here we go. Coming into this game here, Papa Bagheera going first here. Reasonably useful when you have these heavy DOT characters. Maybe if you go first, you drop the Battle Ballad early, and you're going to hit more often than not with the Houndmaster and the Antiquarian. Reasonably low base accuracy characters, especially this Flagellant here, without the Crown of Thorns, taking the Gauntlet of Absolution.
Right, we do see some very interesting trinkets already, on the Flagellant of the side of SBRH, we see the I believe it's the Crimson Hook, potentially just, trying to allow for a lot of different damage over time, just trying to stack as much bleed and stress as possible, though the lack of the accuracy is somewhat concerning. On the side of Bagheera, we saw the Battle Ballad and just trying to buff up accuracy, SBRH doesn't have any very high accuracy or dodge characters, though it is always nice just, increase reliability. We then see SBRH, go for the Duelist Advance, go ahead.
I want to talk about this early riposte for a second, because that early riposte counters every single ability that Papa Bagheera can use offensively in terms of the Harvest, the AoEs from the Houndmaster and the Antiquarian, and the Reign of Sorrows there. Remarkable positioning.
Right, just simply, we're seeing, SBRH, he made a very questionable choice with his positioning and his... the way he set up his team, yet it already has paid off, showing that just the experience that he may have.
Again, coming into this undefeated, this is a very terrifying prospect, especially in a game where we've seen sometimes RNG does claim the victor. I think, missing with dodging there on the Houndmaster, really unfortunate. You want to be applying these DOTs as early as possible so that they tick down faster. If you apply these by turn 5, you might not survive to turn 8 to reap the rewards. These need to be applied early, and they need to tick down very, very fast, especially Silentia. Look at these rejuvenating vapors there. You need to counteract that, don't you?
Absolutely, I completely agree. Bagheera very clearly is setting up for his endgame, despite it being turn 1, already setting up those vapors, trying to make sure that he stays alive. And also a very interesting play that we've yet to comment on is the fact that almost immediately he had the Houndmaster guard the Jester, trying to keep the Jester away from all harm, as SBRH has 0 stuns and he has 0 ways to counteract that. His only potential way of controlling the Jester really would just simply be killing it before he can get the finale off, though. With that guard dog, not only is the Jester safe, but the Houndmaster has much higher dodge, and I think that is an extremely intelligent play.
Absolutely here. I mean, both SBRH and Bagheera are people who have proven themselves to be very, very effective players here, even in terms of how long SBRH here is taking to actually use his turn. Maybe, yeah, going with a command there. Really respectable decision, if not perhaps a little bit late, right, Solenti? You want to get in early, I think.
It is a bit late, however, at the same time, it's fairly common for people who want to, try and bolster turn one, even if Bagheera isn't running a pure stress comp, just the residual stress that he'll stack up from everything, you have the Festering Vapors, the Hound's Harry, you have the Rain of Sorrows, just over time he'll be accounting, like so much side stress that it makes sense that he would want to try and mitigate that first, and then, getting the command up just to try and, get as much accuracy as possible makes sense as well. We see the Jester attempt to go for the Harvest, really playing right into SBRH's Highwayman with the Riposte, and just despite him being guarded, the Jester has taken some serious damage already.
I'm really not so sure about that Harvest. I mean, you have Dirk Stab, that single target ability won't do too much damage. I mean, still though, taking these hits so early on as the Jester, when you're in a team where the only big heal you have is situationally dependent on the health of your Flagellant here. So if that Jester goes down, he's just going down, Solenti. He's not really coming back up.
I completely agree. And now we see another very smart play from SBRH. Turn one, we saw him go for the Riposte to try and mitigate any AoE skills that Bagheera has.
I'm right back. He's
after.
Good eat there. Good eat there, though, on that Flagellant. I think Papa Bagheera has realised he needs to take damage on that Flagellant, because a Flagellant is the only healer that can really keep the Jester alive long enough to finale.
Right, I agree. Though, going back to what I was saying, the Highwayman just... SBRH already showing that, he has turn priority in mind, he has an idea of when he wants to do which skills, Immediately he got up the Riposte, then afterwards he was able to apply the Vendetta to the Houndmaster, reducing his dodge by a lot, giving the Highwayman a slight buff to damage and accuracy, and just overall, I think it's very clearly showing that both players know what they're doing.
I mean, that was Maestro-like proficiency with SBRH's turn over there. Quite often we see the Vendetta damage set up before the Riposte here. But that monstrous crit, taking Papa Bagheera's Houndmaster right down to death's door here. SBRH has every chance to try and get this kill. I think he's going to try and get the kill here. He might play more defensively slow, but I don't think... You look at this, he's going to do it, Solenti. Is he going to do it? Wow, what do you make of that?
It's an interesting play, just trying to potentially remove all debuffs and obviously get rid of the stun that was on the Highwayman. Potentially he's just trying to make sure that, the Highwayman will be able to get the kill next turn on the Houndmaster. It's, as we see, SBRH doesn't have any other finishers on his team. However, what we can see here is Bagheera being able to get his Jester into position, as focusing so much on the Highwayman, on the Houndmaster, has allowed the Jester to just slip through the cracks, and depending on, who goes first, the Jester may be able to just finale up the
Highwayman there, absolutely. That Riposte as well. Riposte isn't going to be activated if you take a massive hit to the face and die. This guard, though, really, only way you can interact with that on Bagheera's side here is the 4-rank AoEs or that Dirk Stab. But if you do either of those things, SBRH here will Riposte you, and he'll Riposte you, as we've seen on that highway. There we go, boom, look at it. Takes it on the Man-at-Arms. Can you believe that? Look at that. Straight down. SBRH here, I think, might take his first game loss ever in this tournament.
There's potential there, though. You got to remember, there is a chance for a double death blow here, which we do end up seeing. And with that, SBRH is now in a very advantageous position. Bagheera has already used the finale on the Jester. He's unable to safely go for Harvest.
We'd say Bagheera's 1v3 right now in a way.
Exactly, yeah, and Bagheera can't even rely on the sustainability of the Flagellant, as SBRH, has a Flagellant of his own alongside an Arbalist in third position who will be able to continuously heal.
I mean, this back and forth has been remarkable. SBRH seems to be in such an early dire position here. Turn 4 with a Man-at-Arms dead, but right back at you. Gets that double kill on the back row. Throwing out crits non-stop, even against targets that are not marked.
Absolutely.
25% chance there, and he's hit it 3 times in a row.
Right, and now we just see SBRH, his Highwayman is at low health, however, he very clearly doesn't care. He's just continuing to push the advantage, and he wants to seal the game up before anything can go wrong and anything could potentially happen, which would cause him to lose, which I think is, again, a very smart play, just him being very aggressive and being willing to take risks despite the low HP of his characters.
Exactly, it's Darkest Dungeon, and I think the thing that separates these more experienced master tier players and people who've played a lot but don't quite get it is the fact that you really have all of these different variables to work around right now. And SBRH has taken it to this next level here, getting that double kill, choosing when to play aggressively, when to play defensively right now, clearing the stun on the Highwayman. I think that might just take him back, get him this game very, very early on. I think his legacy might be intact for now.
Right, I completely agree. Now, this game, it seems practically over because, as we saw there, the Jester, he very clearly wanted to go for the Harvest. He wants to try and get all the advantage he can. However, he has no way that he, is able to justify doing that. Just, he would take such a heavy riposte. It's just not worth it. And SBRH is in such an advantageous position that this game seems that it's already over.
I think very rarely can you say a game in Darkest Dungeon is, it's over now, right, with that big surrender. You've got to think that Gara, to ever surrender a match like this, he's a bit tilted, right? Something's crawled up inside him and it's wiggling around and he's not liking it.
Exactly, yeah, and we've seen Bagheera's skill in some of the previous matches. Him surrendering, I think, just shows the dominance that SBRH was able to display right here, and it'll be interesting to see, how their mentality, how any tilt they may have will go into the next game.
We are in a bracket of killers, I believe. SBRH, Mango, Adelbart, and right now the player who's just unfortunately lost the first game, Bagheera. All of these players, though, remarkable talents in and of their own right. To see SBRH come into this first game in such a dominant fashion really does not have to sit well with the other three players in this tournament, does it?
Right, I completely agree. And also, one thing that we didn't get the chance to mention is that on the other side of SBRH's comp, the Tank and Spank comp, it seems to be a very heavy stun-focused stress comp, which against, Bagheera's remaining comps, I think will just, be extremely powerful, On the dry boards, he's able to just completely control the Jester. On the Moist boys, again, able to completely control the Jester. And on the other one, he's able to completely control the Abomination. Just I don't know if Bagheera will be able to get the tempo to, stand up to this at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, this team, whilst it does have the potential to be a very, very heavy stress team, we've seen in the lineup that we see right now, again, obviously, you can change it if you do want to. You can put the Houndmaster into second, but the stun unusable from third there. If you pull in that Vestal, the Houndmaster is at fourth. Very difficult to get back into a position where you can actually use those stuns. So I think we are going to be seeing some very, very interesting matchups here that are predilected on, I suppose we call it strategy, right? These overarching play styles that people have that they can change, they can pivot on the fly to suit their needs, but regardless dictates how well they do in the tournament. We've seen people before choose to heal instead of attack. This is what we would call a strategical error, especially in a game like Darkest Dungeon. But I really think SBRH here, he's a deadly guy to look out for. I think Bagheera is the one that has to be on the back foot here, trying to make changes to try and counterpick the few remaining comps that he's facing from SBRH here.
Right, I completely agree. Oh, goodness. Again, it's such an interesting game because both players have shown themselves to practically be titans, in their performance. They've both played so well. They have such powerful comps, and just SBRH has taken game one, but we don't know what's going to happen here. The one, I suppose you could say, fault that you could see in SBRH's team is that the two remaining both seem to be very heavily focused on stress. Though even Vagabonds, his first comp has the potential to pivot into Marked. So I don't know how you're able to, be able to reliably adjust into that on the side of Bagheera.
Absolutely, there are so many different variables we can alter with even the base 4 characters given. You can change trinkets, skills, and position, and this really can change a burst stress team into a damage team or into something like a horror team. So many different avenues you can choose to get the victory with. So far, we've seen maybe not quite as much as that we would like to have seen, but coming into these very, very important games now, where physical rewards are already on the line, you really need to take all the time that is allotted to you and use every single essence of resource you have to get that victory.
Exactly. And another thing that some people, neglect to think about is not only are there, like the physical rewards being provided by Red Hook, but there's an even more important thing at stake for every player here, and that's simply pride.
Yeah. I know that better than most people, don't I? I mean, it always feels good to win, It's not a giant thing, but it's a little burst of, oh, thank God, look at that. I didn't lose. And for these people, especially mangled Bagheera, SBRH, we don't know too much about, but Bagheera does not want to lose here. Want to lose.
Right. And now, going into the first game, we see Bagheera going second. We see SBRH going first. And what do you think of the comps that we see here, Sis?
Well, I'm really interested in this face-to-face abomination mirror right up in the front. I think a lot of this game will be decided on how well they use these kind of micro-strategic decisions between them. Do they decide to control the stun? Do they decide to control the damage? Or do they try and just push him back out of range? But also, Jester Shieldbreaker, he has got to take the initiative here and try and wipe out SBRH's team before SBRH can really leverage those stuns onto the Jester and stop him from getting his finale buffed.
Right, I completely agree. Just simply being able to stop the Jester before he gets rolling. He's a very big snowball character. However, what we see here is a stun coming out from both characters' Vestals onto the opposing
Great command here, great command. SBRH guy always loves to use that tech in a command is something we both love to see, isn't it, Silencio?
Oh, I completely agree. Bagheera has two very high dodge characters that are generally seen as very difficult to control because of their dodge, those being the Jester and the Shield Breaker, and just being able to neutralize that aspect of them will be extremely helpful. Now, on the side of SBRH, we see him go for a Hound's Harry. Bagheera has no way of setting up a post outside of the Abomination, who is currently stunned, and, well, it's a very similar thing on the side of, SBRH with
both bleeds with his harvest there, thankfully going to slowly trickle them down and really aid the Jester in his finale. Maybe if the Jester is stunned permanently, he gets one turn after finale, a character at Death's Door. That is 100%. Oh, there we go, look at that. This is so bad.
Yeah, and now we see a play that may have actually been a misplay from the side of Bagheera. What he did was the Abomination was in first position with the Shieldbreaker in second, and he went to try and pull the Vestal, which put the Shieldbreaker in first and the Abomination in second, which then allowed the Abomination to be pushed back to fourth, where he's rendered completely useless.
A rookie mistake, I think, facilitated by the speed at which he's playing this game there. SBRH is in the leading position. He knows exactly what to do, so he's playing fast here. Bagheera, unfortunately, mirroring his speed.
I completely agree.
It's punishing, isn't it? It's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And now, on the side of SBRH, we see the Man-at-Arms. He went for a riposte. He has the riposte shield up, and this is going to, heavily disincentivize the Jester from being able to harvest, just the Shieldbreaker from being able to impale Beast Miles. Just anything that would target the second position is now very much so an inoptimal play. Jester, we see that he is in position 2 finale yet, though he has no viable targets. He can't harvest without taking a lot of damage, so yep, he's just going to go ahead and Dirk Stab, try and continue build that up.
That's a pretty monstrous crit though, really quite important when we consider the fact he's taking that stun there, passing a turn, taking the bleed damage, and also it only really requires maybe a stun there, a stun crit from the Manacles onto that Houndmaster, just to do a little bit of damage, to let that Jester even do 4 damage, 5 damage with his finale and get the kill. But that guard, whilst not stopping a Dirk Stab going through, is going to stop the finale until his Shieldbreaker, eponymously named for ability to break guards, really takes down that Houndmaster, focusing her as he's been doing already.
Right, again, completely agree. Just being able to sort of slow down Bagheera even by a small amount is just insanely helpful. We see him leveraging his stunts, and now we actually see him go and stun the shield breaker as opposed to the jester, making it so that the Houndmaster is going to be completely safe. I'd say an excellent play. What are your thoughts on that, Sid?
Fantastic. I mean, a lot of people here would have reflexively stunned the jester, thinking him the threat, but really here, the shield breaker is able to completely negate all of your defensive utility, apart from the Abomination's guard break here. The Abomination in third, not able to do it there, setting himself up now for... He could have actually. That Abomination could have just slammed the Houndmaster, right? Broken the guard, no? Very interesting play from Bagheera there. He could have done that. He could have charged him.
No, unfortunately. Slam is only able to target positions 1 and 2. The Houndmaster was in position 3.
Rage Rake, Slam.
Right. Slam is able to be activated when the Abomination is in position 3, though it cannot target position 3.
Absolutely, sorry, you're absolutely right. My bad. I apologize.
Yep, no worries. Anyway, so now we see the Abomination on the side of Bagheera in Death's Door. We see the Shield Breaker finally having to just go ahead and just eat the stun. And now SBRH just has a very clear tempo advantage here, and it'll be interesting to see what he does. Potentially try and untransform with the Abomination. Maybe go for a Beast Bile, maybe try to stun.
I mean, so solid. That Beast Bile here has got double effect. Not only does it try and proc the Death's Door, it puts a blight rather on there. He's just going to stun it.
Yep, and we see the Manacles come out and not only stun, but get the death blow, putting the match very heavily in SBRH's favor.
SBRH is so smart here. I think the reason why he did that stun is because he appreciates, well, that Jester does come out there. Getting a kill, maybe too late, not entirely sure, maybe even too early if he tried to save it, get a kill on the Man-at-Arms, potentially even a Vestal. But right now, I don't know, I think SBRH still has, he's played so well. I mean, these commands, an ability that not many people use, but I think that's what gives Man-at-Arms an incredible edge. The decision to guard when he's guarded, to go aggressive when he's gone aggressive. I think he deserves this win. I'm not sure if Bagheera can take it back anymore.
I don't want to say whether or not a player deserves this win, as, aside from one key misplay that sticks out of my head, both players have been playing absolutely phenomenally, so really it's just going to, continue to just come down to who ends up edging out in advantage.
Absolutely, but I mean, SBRH is taking these plays that, whilst on the face of them do not build you an advantage, maybe a turn later, due to the interactions from Bagheera, really are effective. We've seen him early on take that Abomination play, get the leverage here on the movement, push him back into fourth, make him move. But Bagheera here, using his stuns very, very, very well. This Vestal in third, now vulnerable to SBRH's Vestal in fourth for the stun. But regardless, you're getting that stun out on the Houndmaster and able to blackjack you back, so you have to feel a little bit safer than if you were facing a team where 2 of them can stun you.
Right, I agree. And also a side note, something that you really don't see every day is a Man-at-Arms that is not running Villa. And, we've seen the utility that the Man-at-Arms has been able to provide, with the command. He has the potential of bolster, he has the retribution and defender. Just, Man-at-Arms being able to provide, such heavy support without, his practically trademark ability, just shows how versatile the character has potential to be.
Man-at-Arms here, I believe, to be a pure tech bot, more so than anything. But given that his riposte, that's a late bolster, I would say, wouldn't you?
I'd say agree.
I'm not sure if there was a much of a point to that.
The only idea I can think of there is just simply trying to buff the Houndmaster's dodge by a small amount, but I really don't see that.
Well, I mean, look at that. It did work.
Fair enough,
still had Bagheera.
Yes.
Bagheera forced to try and stun a character that is already stunned due to the daze on his Jester here. Now going to be punished for it, hopefully with a counter stun by SBRH's Vestal, going to mitigate, really, one of the 3... Oh, no, he's going to heal, playing very defensively here. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose his Houndmaster so early on when Bagheera still is very threatening. If that Shield Breaker is last man standing, SBRH might be worried.
Right, yeah. This match, again, it's really undecided at this point. Both players have lost their Abomination, and what may have seemed, what an easy victory 1 or 2 turns ago has feels like it's almost completely been neutralized, you know? Neither player holding an extremely powerful advantage over the other.
I'm really glad to see Bagheera here starting to pull in that Vestal. If he pulled that Vestal in a bit earlier, could have pulled her into first position, unable to stun. He could have used his stuns as a means to take this game home, covered with the fact that he has got DOTs coming out of both the Shieldbreaker and the Jester and the Abomination's Beast Bile here. I think Bagheera making perhaps some strategic misplays in terms of his movement again. Maybe Bagheera is a guy that isn't too comfortable with this heavy movement metagame. But regardless here, SBRH putting down these constant riposts, slowly trickling down the opponent, protecting himself from the harvest.
Right, just, you know, the Man-at-Arms being able to just consistently have that riposte up, you know, being able to stop the Jester from just mindlessly spamming Harvest, though honestly it doesn't even really seem to matter that much in the end, you know, because Bagheera at the moment is doing such a good job of just being able to completely control SBRH's Vestal, you know, pulling it, stunning it, it appears he, you know, has a more than likely chance to pull it once again here, yeah. And at this point, you know, the Vestal is completely useless aside from spamming Hand of Light.
So fantastic to see her finally pulled into the first position here, but a little bit late because this Hand of Light now is a viable tool in fishing for a Death's Door hit. This is why you want to get that Vestal pulled in very early so these stuns don't go through. Divine Grace again on herself, very defensive play. I would have liked to have seen a stun here really on the Houndmaster because no one else can actually attack her.
Right, I agree, you know, just she's practically, you know, she's completely safe aside from the Houndmaster, and Hand of Light may have a chance to may be able to target fourth position, though I can't say on that as I don't
Another dodge there, that is very, very tricky. Dark Stab, ooh, a crit there, not doing much other than push him down to Death's Door and stressing the team out here. That one crit, bing bong bing, abusive. What else have we got? Let's see. What do you think, Silentia? Abusive again? We're going to get a triple abusive here.
No, I'm going to say hopeless for Vestal.
Oh, Rational. These are still awful, though, right? You know quite a lot about the statistics of this.
Right, abusive, you know, everybody knows the trademark of abusive, you know, the characters having a chance to hit each other, potentially get the Jester who's in Death's Door, you know, just getting him dead. Irrational, having a strong chance to pass, you know, has a strong chance to refuse healing and such. Just all of these afflictions, you know, obviously they're not the worst in the game, but none of them you enjoy having.
While abusive in and of itself, I believe, does not allow you the opportunity to pass, what it does do is give you a very high chance to hit yourself or hit one of your teammates. And when your team is being slowly whittled down to Death's Door, one of these act-outs can be much, much more explosive than a pass. Because what it will actually be is a kill. And that is something that everybody dreads. It's something so rare guarding this Vestal here. He wants to keep the Vestal alive, even though she's in position 1. Maybe an odd play here, fishing for these Hand of Light kills again, I suppose. But still, the Jester can Dark Stabber, get her down to Death's Door again, and then this Shieldbreaker can use one of her shield-breaking abilities to attack through her.
Right. Yeah, it's a very interesting play, you know, like, I'm not entirely sure the reasoning for it, you know, like, if it was the Houndmaster that was guarding the Vestal, you know, like, you could see the idea behind it, you know, the Houndmaster just trying to buff up his dodge, you know, make it so that he just, you know, can't be hit, but just, you know,
we're going to see here anyway, regardless of that guard. I think actually what we might have seen from SBRH here, the decision to guard might have been forced by the fact that he has that's another Death's Door resist from that Jester there.
The Jester, yeah.
This is fortunate to see, but look at his stress right now. Look at his stress right now. He's going to tick down to a heart attack soon enough. But back to the initial point, SBRH here, forced to do it, not taking the bellow. I think maybe a rough decision with the skills he chose.
Right, I agree. Now, the Vestal chooses to go for Divine Grace, which is actually a somewhat questionable play, as over the course of all the turns being, you know, with Hound's Harry just being clicked over and over again, the amount of DOTs that have been stacked just, you know, completely neutralize any healing that the Divine Grace is able to provide. So what are your thoughts on that play?
Bang, bang. This is what abusive does. It nullifies 1/3 of that heal. Also, these bleeds are probably going to tick you down from the heal anyway. We wanted to. There we go. There's a Jester.
Yeah, and we saw the dead. Yep, we saw the dead Jester, and even if they didn't get the death blow, the stress would have had him die. Yeah.
We definitely wanted to see a stun there, playing a little bit more aggressively. Silentia, I think finally we've seen SBRH make a few questionable plays here.
Yeah, I agree. It seems that both players, the nerves are just starting to get to them, and they're just starting to sort of doubt their decision making at certain points. Though it's hard to say because again, the game is very much so not over yet. It's very heavily in SBH's favor, but there's the Vestal just being able to potentially continuously stun the Man-at-Arms. If the Shieldbreaker is able to get a kill on the Houndmaster, then that could end up, working in Bagheera's favor.
That's a critting for 9 on a 1 health target. That crit doing not much else than applying a tiny bit of stress, not doing much really, I've got to admit. I mean, right now we're going to see, there we go, surviving, I believe. If you are Bagheera right now, you've got to be thanking the Lords. You've been given these opportunities to play aggressively again. I think he will be too scared to try and stun that Man-at-Arms, though. Yeah, you see this. I don't think that was the right play. We've seen too many people in this tournament so far choosing to heal instead of attack at vital points. And against someone like SBRH, you can't give him any time. If you go to turn left, that killed that. I mean, man, the only target left for Papa Bagheera right now is the riposted Man-at-Arms. What do you make of that? No. I don't know. This is Silentia. This is anyone's called. Flip a coin. You decide right now who the winner is. Back and forth. He's going to say, oh! Sorry.
There is a Serpent Sway on the side of the Shieldbreaker.
Finally using those so late into the game. Not only he's commanding himself to get through the dodge, we are seeing such impressive play right now. After these slight misplays, their minds are focused. They've only got one decision left, each to their own, and they are making it here. Papa Bagheera fully countering that riposte with a Serpent Sway.
Right, my goodness, this is such an engaging game. This is just absolutely fantastic.
Taking it home here with the second Serpent Sway. I do believe those bots don't stack higher than 2, though.
No, they do not.
With a command again here, I wouldn't have done that, to be honest. 85 dodges, that's a lot of dodge. Boy, oh boy. I mean, maybe we are going to see a back and forth command. Oh,
there's a dodge.
So punishing.
And without another Aegis stack,
you've got to try and take the coin flip.
Oh boy, yeah. Dodges allowing the Aegis stacks to maintain with that. Bagheera may be able to take the game home.
I think right now we need to put there we go. Finally he gets a hit, but it is at the point where his Man-at-Arms is at death's door. Papa Bagheera can take one more hit, but if that hit is a crit, it is going to probably do enough stress to him to actually make him happy. He's going for a command hit again.
Correct, yeah, Bagheera is at 195 stress, and if he gets crit, then that'll be the 5 stress required. Oh wait, no, just entering death's door is what it took.
And he gets
ending the game.
SBRH here. Man, he's got to be shaking, I think, for the first time in his tournament life. That was such a remarkable game here. We saw them. SBRH, I think, in the early stages of the game, play flawlessly. But when it got down to this just chaotic mess of the later game, right, I think he broke down. I mean, I think some of the most important plays there with his early guard that broke his tempo. What do you think they were?
No, goodness, just so many key things breaking his tempo. Oh boy, it's hard to say because he just played so well, throughout the whole match, and just at the end, it doesn't for me feel like there was one key point where his tempo broke. It just feels as if as the match continued to drag on, he may have had a thought or realization that he may lose, and just the stress, may have just caused him to break down.
Absolutely.
Guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you for the casting. What an exciting set of games. SBRH taking it 2-0. I have to button because, first of all, sis, you need to rest. Second of all,
I know I do.
Excellent job, Silentia. I'm going to ask you to stick around for another game if that's fine by you. And then you'll take a break for one, and then you'll come back to cast with sis again. Is this fine?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, guys, the plan is we have to make a little of a small switcheroo between the players. So, Bagheera and Adelbert will have to be delayed because Adelbert asked for this. So, unless he just told me that he's back right now, then yeah, he will just be making a small switch. So we'll get Mangle versus SBRH right now onto the table. I'm just gonna have to ask SBRH for permission to do this. Mangle will be our streamer because his stream quality is just impeccable. So we'll just have Eric, aka SBRH, versus Mangle coming into the game right now. And later on, once Adelbert gets back to us, then he will be playing his own games. All right?
You guys are going to smash this one out of the park. I can't think of a better casting team to take it home. And again, Mikefield, you need a little bit of shilling, don't you? Do you want to do it?
Yeah, perfect. So guys, we're just gonna set it up right now. Sorry, can you just keep talking for a little bit more, because I do need to talk to Eric as well.
Me and you, I think both of us can really attest to how much Mikefield and all of the other streamers participating in this tournament need love. I think I want you right now to talk about Mikefield.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like Butcher Circus, like it was extremely small starting out. Like, and just everything we saw was just like very, like small creators. People like Mike, which like at the start of the Butcher Circus, I believe if I recall correctly, I saw him first when he had like 150 subs. But just him being able to grow this sense of community and just being able to bring everyone to be this game that we all love to play and talk about,
You are cutting out here for a second, man. You're cutting out there, so do you want me to take over just for a second? I think.
Yeah, go ahead. I apologize.
So really quickly, the other YouTubers to make note of here, some of the biggest names in Darkest Dungeon. We've got Mikefield Salvier, obviously. We have Shuffle FM. Shuffle FM, such a great guy, going to be casting tomorrow, hopefully. Hopefully taking some of this time off me, because this is one hell of a day of work right now. But also the Real Spartan, fantastic guy. We saw his games yesterday. Quite a small channel right now. We need everyone to go and support him. If you love Darkest Dungeon and Butcher Circus content, really great guy. On terms of the Twitch streamers, obviously, Cloaked Goliath, the man, the myth, the legend, the mystery, the king, Cloaked Goliath himself, Zoko Forever, Misukun DD, Joshatsu, Misukun DD and Zoko here, I believe both being these kind of Spanish-oriented streamers, mainly do their streams in Spanish. So obviously, if you guys are Spanish lovers of Darkest Dungeon, these are probably your go-to guys here. Joshatsu, fantastic Twitch guy. I mean, what can I say? His games yesterday, so fun. This guy, so calm, so laid back. What a guy to watch. Give him a follow. Life's a Lich here, another Spanish guy, I believe. Fantastic guy. Played in both tournaments, the Musukun and this one. Really, really made a name for himself. And obviously, again, Mikefield at the end here. Give him a follow on Twitch as well. We want to try and build this Twitch community too.
Thank you so much, Sis, for trying to sell me once again. Also, huge kudos to all the streamers who have decided to join us here. Absolutely magnificent stuff, guys. So, this being said, we're just slowly setting into the game. I think I'm ready, on my own terms. So, like, whenever the guys are ready, they are set up in the lobbies and such. We will just get started with it. So, Sis, take a breather, crack open a cold one right absolutely. Now. You definitely deserve this, man. All this energy that you put into this tournament is just absolutely magnificent. And this being said,
peace out.
Yeah. So, Salincha, it's me and you right now. It's the duocast for the upcoming game between Mangle and SBRH indeed. So what do you make of this matchup? Let's have a look at the decks perhaps, so that we can... Sorry, I'm just kind of switching between the screens right now. Here we are.
No worries.
Those are the decks here, Mangle and SBRH. I also need to learn about the bans of those two players. So I do have actually the first ban coming through. So I'm just going to wait for Eric's ban now as well.
All right, perfect.
And because I cannot disclose a single ban without getting the other one out, because they might just influence one another, and the stakes are relatively high in this case. So I'm just going to give this some time, let Eric think, because there's a very, very important decision here. So we have a ban coming through. First of all, so SBRH bans the Dam comp. So Halo's comp getting some love once again. What do you make of this? Do you feel this is an absolutely overpowered composition that people are banning for a reason? Or is it just kind of the psychological effect of people seeing this in Mizukin's tournament and just appreciating how strong it might be?
I mean, as somebody who, displayed a comp very similar to it, it does, to a certain level have me feel pride and feel a bit of pride, that people are using it and, people are actively, banning it, considering it strong enough to ban. But overall, it does have some, key flaws that can be taken advantage of. But overall, I'd say that it is just, very strong. It has some, a lot of control, some reliable damage and all that, and just the existence of Jester just, will always change the way that somebody plays the game.
Yeah. Alright, so I just got word from Adelbert that he's going to be ready for the follow-up matchup, so we're just going to go with Mango's stream right now. Mango, I believe, is already streaming the game, so, streaming the feed anyway, so we're just going to get into this momentarily. Those bans, man, they are so crazy. People hate the Jester so much. And we've actually seen Jester falter as well, in quite a few matches. So SBRH versus Mangle, by the way, probably one of the most exciting matchups of the day. Both guys extremely potent players. They bring so much to the table. Mangle versus Adelbert was another one of those. There are so many good matches, actually. I just can't wrap my head around that. And Adelbert versus SBRH, there's just absolute madness right here. And we'll just see how well those guys perform very, very soon. Obviously, what team compositions would you expect those guys to pick into the first match of the day between them?
It's a very interesting question, just on the side of Mango, he has some very strong comps, you have his first one, just having a lot of AoE damage over time and all that, the second one having a lot of stress, third, again, just a lot of AoE damage over time and everything, I'd say that I can't really estimate what Mango would want to go with, though. On the side of SBRH, I would presume his first comp to most likely be the one that we saw first in the previous match, the Rocky Roadie, just, for the existence of the Highwayman in fourth, and just being able to essentially shut down every form of AoE, Flagellant Reign of Sorrows, Houndmaster's Hound's Harry, Antiquarian's Festering Vapors, just, everything just being able to be completely shut down by a riposte in third position, or a post that does as much damage as the Highwayman's.
Yeah, that's true. And especially SBRH seems to be very comfortable on this Highwayman, just using him to the best of his ability. And it looks like this character in SBRH's hands is just absolutely unstoppable. We have seen him perform on that one over and over and over and over again. And this was just crazy how good this man is on this character. I think we're just getting into the game right now. So it's going to be game one, Mangled Cadaver, aka Mangle versus SBRH here. Probably two most epic players in this side of the bracket here, in this group number one. And only, perhaps both of them will indeed advance. Both of them have actually won their respective matches. So this is going to be kind of the decider. Which of them takes lead in group one? SBRH or Mangle?
Right, and now we see here Mangle going first. And, the call for SBRH to be using Rocky Roadie first, what was correct, just him being very comfortable with that Highwayman and just the comp as a whole. Mangled Cadaver, just pulling out one of his many AoE damage over time builds. And what are your thoughts on this, Mike? What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Okay, so I feel like the heavy DOT builds, though they are very efficient most of the time, they kind of fall short when you have to deal with very tanky members on the opposite side. And indeed, SBRH, not only does he have the riposte on this Highwayman, he has extremely tanky and healthy characters. The Bolster drops here, for instance, obviously this Arbor is able to heal all those bleeds that might come through. And she's also a fairly tanky character herself. Flagellant, obviously, not much needs to be said. Extremely potent, resilient character too. So all together, all these guys probably are going to be able to live through all this onslaught, that SBRH brings to the table. Sorry, that Mangle brings to the table. So maybe those characters also, the Mangled characters, they are quite low on HP altogether. So a single crit from this Arbalist, a single crit riposte will definitely throw Mangle off.
Yeah, I can understand that, though. On the side of Mangled, we see a very interesting strategy of him, employing of using the Guard Dog and the Cover Me to try and buff the dodge of the Shield Breaker and the Houndmaster, potentially to the point where they can't be hit, alongside a bolster from the Man-at-Arms, just making it so that, half his team is just extremely dodge heavy. Yeah, and there we go. We see the Flagellant attempt to go for a Reign of Sorrows, just completely missing both characters, and this extremely heavy dodge build could result in SBRH losing a lot of key turns, and Mangold in turn being able to just gain a lot of momentum and pressure.
That's true. So this dodge might be the difference maker here in this game. Obviously, turn 1, everybody gets additional 15 dodge if you go second, which Mangold did, and this is basically one of those very few compositions in the game that benefits from going second. So kind of fortunate for Mangold to indeed go second here. And this dodge comes into play once again. Look at the 70 dodge on this freaking shield breaker, 72 on the Houndmaster, just 15 on the MAA, but still quite a decent amount altogether.
Exactly.
He doesn't choose to bolster.
Dodge, while it may not seem like a lot, can still cause some moves that would seem that they have a high chance to hit, to just barely miss. Things like Flagellant's Punish.
That's kind of a rare mistake by SBRH, however. You have to notice that he uses command a bit late. He might have probably wanted to use this on the very first turn, which he did not do for some reason. Like, knowing how much dodge Mangold has.
I mean, truthfully, I disagree, because just getting up the bolster turn 1, I'd say that it's generally seen as the safest play. Any potential stress that Mangold would want to try and, pile on is immediately reduced, and then being able to get the, accuracy second, and potentially, again in a third turn, I'd say that makes the most sense. Even if you had to go the first turn without the command, just simply being able to get the bolster up immediately, I'd say was the best play.
Yeah, but at the same time, you relinquish a lot of pressure, because this Flagellant could have potentially hit the back line with the Reign of Sorrows, which he didn't do there. So
potentially, though, I'd say that it was very unlikely regardless. I believe it was even after the command, I believe it would be a coin flip to hit both the Shield Breaker and the Houndmaster.
Fair enough, man. So we are kind of moving into the second 10, kind of deep into like two character moves in. This Shield Breaker and I probably moves forward again, right? This is kind of the playstyle that you see, kind of dodge in and out with the Shield Breaker, try to land all those impales, get as much AoE as possible. Potentially as well, you might see this Antiquarian slowly but steadily begin to heal. Obviously this Flagellant hitting both targets here might do a bit of a counter to that play. So right now this Houndmaster obviously under quite heavy siege, and it really has to feel very bad for Mangold, right? Because he is not doing that much in terms of damage. As we just said, right, those characters extremely tanky, very resilient, high resistances as well, on top of all those very high HP numbers, and their ripostes will coming into play. This is just so brutal for SBRH. He might just get a kill right here. He doesn't. Felt like he might actually have got that, but he did not in the end. But this is so much pressure on the man, and you really have to feel this is not going to get any easier, right? This Flagellant will be putting constant pressure on the backline here, and SBRH's Highwayman and and Arbors are just going to exert even more. Might actually force Mangold out of the comfort zone as well, because he can no longer be just spamming those AoE abilities with no recourse, right? He's just gonna take a lot of those riposts and will be punished heavily for every single decision he makes. So you can see actually this Houndmaster going for a very risky move.
Yeah, the Houndmaster has been playing very aggressive, and just as we've seen these past two moves, like just the Houndmaster's dodge has not been paying off at all. He's gotten hit nearly every single time, and even if the Flagellant essentially lost his first turn due to a double miss, just simply, him being able to continuously hit after that, just being able to make it up so much as Flagellant just allowing so much tempo, is just applying so much immediate pressure with the Hemlock.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Houndmaster might just be dead right now. Imagine that. Like, look at the damage that came through.
Very much so, yeah.
Three death blows already resisted, and again a crit.
And we see a crit on the side of.
Oh,
goodness!
That's brutal.
And with that, the Shield Breaker is also now in Death's Door. Antiquarian extremely close to it due to the damage over time when she gets activated. Honestly, we don't know if this is going to be able to pan out for Mangold.
Death blow and again, double. This is the second time SBRH does this tournament. He just gets the double death blow. Obviously, just 45% death blow resistance on this Houndmaster, so not big surprise there. But this Shield Breaker, you have to feel this is extremely unfortunate that she just drops that as well. However, this is what Mangold was begging for. This comp is high risk, high reward. He got himself in into a very sticky situation, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get out of this anytime soon. Like, he is just super dead.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just at this point, I don't know if it's possible for Mangold to be able to recover, because everybody knows well the combination of the Man-at-Arms and the Antiquarian having potential to being able to take games they have no right of taking. But right here, I'd say that's practically impossible. You have the combination of healing in the Arbalist and the Flagellant. You have double riposte in Man-at-Arms and Highwaymen. You have such high damage over time. Just, I don't see any way in which Mangled's going to be able to recover here.
Yeah, SBRH is just such a brilliant play overall, but this time I feel like this is just a huge compositional mismatch. And there isn't really that much that, Mangle can do. He cannot really play safe and contained with this composition, can he? And obviously this Antiquarian, this would have been okay had it not been for the Flagellant in the very front row, which was basically pressuring every single 10 out of Mangle Cadavers. And still, even despite the fact that he had missed on the first 10, over the course of the following 10s, he was indeed able to make up for that. And right now we can see this Deadhound Master, Antiquarian at Death's Door, all this just because of those super heavy bleed stacks that came through. And this is just remarkable how much a Flagellant can do. And again, like Mangle Cadaver, I feel like every single character that he has on this team is just super hard countered by SBRH's team, right? There is just very little he can do in this game. And as we said, like, there is no way to play this safe with the pressure from the Flagellant. This might be a dead Antiquarian despite all those... Oh, there's a guard actually, I didn't notice that.
Right, yeah,
so
there's a guard.
Not dead yet, but honestly, like, what do you do if you're Mangles right now? I feel like you just tap out of this or just start thinking about the following... You probably want to plan for the game after this one, because obviously, like, the win chance for Mangle coming into this is just minuscule at this point. There is no other way to put it, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree, and just honestly, on the side of Mangle, in a way, you may even want to feel somewhat relieved as this composition, like, you have the decks that Mangle had prepared. 3 of them have a very heavy focus on AoE skills, and the only one that didn't got banned. So it makes sense that the team on the side of SBRH that has so many ripostes and such strong ripostes, it makes sense for him to use that first, and potentially Mangled had anticipated that and is just trying to get that out first so that he can then make the potential reverse sweep.
Yeah, let's have a look at the consequences of SBRH potentially taking the series here, because obviously this is game 1, but with such dominant play, we might just see SBRH just go 2-0, right? When SBRH goes into this one, like, he takes the second game as well, he's going to be 2-0 in this match overall. He hasn't played Bagheera yet, who apparently is not performing that well today, so we might just see, SBRH advancing with a 3-0 here, if he's indeed able to beat Mangle in game number 2. And this means this is getting very scary for both Mangle and, as well, on top of that, Adelbart, because they will have to win one more game. They will be just really hard pushed to do so, because if someone goes 3-0 on a day, they're just guaranteed to move through, and there is only one single spot left. So Mangle Cadaver really has to gather all his pieces right now and just throw something exceptional on the board in game number 2, because otherwise he might just be out of contention for the tournament overall. Because, this is game number 3, like, almost halfway through the bracket. And this means that every single win and loss really matters. Like, even if you get into this, into a tie against another player, this will be just extremely brutal for you, because every single loss you take, like here Mangle did take a loss as well, and Mangle took a loss on the game number 1 of the day, right? So despite winning the series, he lost one as well. This record of losses is going to matter as far as the standings go, and only 2 people advance out of the group, so this is just going to be super scary if SBRH is indeed able to beat Mangle in the series.
Right, and just, once again, just the dominance that SBRH has provided, he's yet to drop a single game, and I think that just his play here really shows why that's the case. He's just been
clean.
He's played so phenomenally, so masterfully. He's made so many small decisions in both team making and in game that, just really show how advanced his thinking is in the context of the game. And we don't know if Mangle is going to be able to take that down.
Absolutely. This is one of the cleanest games we've seen. Obviously, SBRH, I think he hasn't dropped a single game in the tournament yet. That's insane. Yeah. Like, it looks like,
it really is ridiculous.
You may say RNG, lucky dude, oh god, like, how can he be getting so lucky so consistently, right? This is something you might say about some of the players, perhaps, but SBRH not dropping a single game in a game in which we do have a lot of RNG, granted that, so this means that he's such a proficient player overall. Like, he cannot be so lucky to not lose a single game. I feel like this guy is just insanely good. he might just
Exactly,
be
yeah,
insanely,
because
insanely
luck
good.
can allow someone to, like, win a game that they shouldn't have won or lose a game that they should have won. However, across so many games, luck will sort of even out and just, it will show who, is the dominant player in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just loading to game number 2. We have to disable one of the compositions on the board. Let me just go back to that. So obviously SBRH in a lead right now. Mangle in dire straits. He loses this one. He is going to be in trouble because this means he's 1-1. He really needs to win one more match in order to be able to qualify overall. So let me just have a look at the state of the game here by those two guys. Alright, so we see that SBRH no longer able to use this only Flagellant comp he has brought to the table. By the way, Flagellant looking like a goat here. He is extremely potent across the board. Like, he has been winning so many games for the users, and Mangle actually does have 2 Flagellant comps available to himself right now. So you might actually see one of those comps pull up right now, and Mangle just coming into the game using one of those powerful Flagellant comps to punish what SBRH brings to the table right now. I feel like one of the players is ready indeed. We have to just wait for SBRH to strategize a little bit more. But honestly, if you face a Flagellant and you're playing, for instance, this tank and spam composition with the Vestal, you might just be very, very scared here. Obviously, you might just want to itemize correctly against that Vestal because she does have a decent amount of bleed resistance, so maybe taking some sort of, maybe a Crimson Hook even might be a good idea there for Mangle, right? However, like, looking at the setup by Mangle here in this case, he has 2 very powerful compositions. Like, he can obviously go back to Guts Cures if he wants to, but I don't think this is a comp that he really comfortably plays, and especially he's going against 2 potential Abomination comps, which again doesn't quite look too hot. So I'd kind of prefer not taking those heavy DOT AoE compositions anymore. So you could take the Flagellant with the Grave Robber Splash here perhaps and just dominate another game. We are going into match number 2, guys, so let's just have a look at this one. So it's going to be Mangle again against SBRH. Mangle at a deficit of a single game in this best of 3, so this has to be his win if he wants to stay alive in the series.
Right, here, we're seeing the potential end of Mangle or potentially the first game that SBRH will drop. We don't really know.
Absolutely. So I got a very good read here. So first of all, SBRH goes for the Vestal comp here with the Riposte, and second of all, Mangle goes for this single target stress, which I feel does very well against the Riposte of the Houndmaster, of the Abomination here. Obviously, those stuns from the Vestal will be pain in the ass for Mangle because he really wants to be using this Grave Robber to the maximum of efficiency. So in this case, this might be a bit of a difficulty here. Honestly, he does allow the Grave Robber to go and have a turn. I would just never do this. I would just go for a stun, which is almost guaranteed, granted how much accuracy those trinkets of Vestal give her. Like, the book alone gives her, I think, 15 ranged accuracy, which is very, very big overall. So right now, Mangle might just go for this Grave Robber 10 right away, just get a lot of DOT stacking up on her opponent, and obviously the Flagellant here again a very, very serious threat. We have seen also Mangle make this, that's kind of surprising he goes for this pull here, but we have indeed, oh no, okay, we're back. We have actually seen this Occultist work extremely well for Mangle. Like, he did win him the previous game, the previous match against Adelbart, absolutely there. So I'm kind of feeling that indeed this Occultist might prove, the core character in this composition, and we haven't really seen a successful Occultist so far, so I'm very thrilled to see Mangle make this character work.
Just Occultist is seen as such a niche character, like, generally the roles he fills aren't seen as very necessary or, just being able, or just able to be fulfilled by other characters. However, Mangle in his previous game has just shown the potential of Occultist and how useful he's able to actually be, and against this, the comp that SBRH is using, it could prove to be extremely useful, just having those reliable pulls, being able to stack stress, being able to, get those consistent heals and even stealth. Like, I think that the utility that Occultist provides may in fact be key here for Mangle 2 winning.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been a slight misplay by Mangle here. However, he could have just stunned there was like a different 10 order he could have played this in. So he could have just stunned the Abomination first, then pushed him out, like pulled the MAA forward, right? This would have actually meant that the next turn there is no way for the Abomination to move, and then when he pulls the Vestal in, he's actually able to lock this stunned Abomination in fourth. So he kind of missed out on this actual move here. which would have given him a very decent advantage because this A-bomb would have not been able to riposte, and he had like a free reign over the following turn. Obviously here, Mangle probably knows what he's doing. He has a different plan for us, and obviously just denying the Houndmaster A10 is probably even bigger than that, right? Because denying the Houndmaster's 10 means that no DOTs and no stress comes through, and this is really what makes it or breaks it for Mangle, right? Just being able to deny this Houndmaster's, in a sufficient manner is probably going to mean that he's going to take over the series here. So very decent overall opener though. So we can see this transform coming out from the Abomination, as I said. So this denies all the setup here. He has to move forward with the slam though. So this might be a slam on the Flagellant. No, not really. I'm honestly surprised he doesn't do this, because the Flagellant would have been severely punished if he were to go back to the third row. He would have just to waste a full turn in order to reset the setup here. So
right,
I mean,
there's potential that he just simply wanted to make sure that the Crusader was unable to stun, as he has a lower movement resistance than the Flagellant, so maybe he just didn't want to risk the potential of the Flagellant resisting the push and just essentially doing nothing for him, because if he resisted the push, then not only is that the Abomination's turn, essentially down the drain, but he's also damaged the Flagellant, which puts him closer into range of being able to exsanguinate in regime, which is the last thing you ever want to do.
Indeed. Another thing we see, however, is SBRH actually kind of underestimated what's happening here, because I feel like, using the stun on the Occultist would have meant that there is like a significant amount of pressure. He would have denied the pressure that SBRH is under right now, because this Abomination, don't get me wrong, might still end up going back if the Occultist is allowed to keep pulling. So you are not really allowed to just transform back to human form right now with this A-bomb and just use the repose. You have to just move forward every single time. Also, this Vestal again under a lot of pressure here, because she might just get pulled eventually into the first row here. So I just don't feel like this is the optimal 10 or order by SBRH. Obviously, he probably knows better than me, because he has been just performing beyond any limits here in this game and in this series overall, in this tournament really. So I feel like maybe I'm just kind of making a mistake and misjudging things, but it really feels like he could have just done a little bit more. Obviously, Mangle as well kind of making some small mistakes too. By the way, this MAA just consistently, because it's being used mostly not for bellows but for those accuracy buffs for those commands, right? What do you make of this? There's not a use of MAA that we've commonly seen in the Butcher Circus, right?
Right, like I mentioned in the last game that SBRH played, Man-at-Arms is most well known for his bellow. However, he's been making great use of the command, being able to neutralize any dodge that Mangled has, being able to up crit chances of the Houndmaster, which allows him to apply even the slightest more stress. Though, at the end of the day, Mangled's comp isn't the most dodge heavy, so it's potential that he just wants to try and mitigate the rare off chance of him missing. Though overall, I'd say that there's a strong chance that just simply being able to bellow would end up benefiting SBRH a lot more. It would neutralize the damage Mangled could do, as he has no way of clearing debuffs minus the Crusader's heal. It just applies a lot more stress and has the potential to in turn apply a lot more pressure to Mangled.
Absolutely, but Mangle does actually apply a lot of pressure in this game, so he's able to get this Vestal almost to death's door. If he activates her right now, as SBRH does, he's going to have a Vestal that has to be healed outright. So, and also, this is not the most powerful heal you can do from row number 2. This means that, there is not that much actually that SBRH can do about this, so he might just kind of slowly but steadily lose this Vestal. And the moment the Vestal stops stunning and starts healing, this is where Mangle just starts reigning supreme, you have to feel, because this means that there is way less stuns, way fewer stuns that is, and this also allows Mangle to just do anything he really wants on his characters. And I feel this might just start the snowball effect, because honestly, SBRH playing this sort of a stun and stress composition hasn't applied that much stress overall. This Abomination has been under heavy siege, and obviously this Vestal also taking a lot of pressure here and might just not be able to persist throughout this fight, especially that Mangle is going to dodge this attack as well. This stun goes through, which is kind of a greedy decision here. Obviously, you can justify this.
I wouldn't even say it's greedy. I'd say that that's just the smart decision. As as we mentioned, as soon as the Vestal starts healing and stops stunning in this composition, that he's very much so on the back foot and it's difficult to recover. So I'd say that going for the Dazzling Light, trying to gain that tempo, prevent the Grave Robber from doing anything, and in turn also protecting the Vestal, because then, Mangle wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd say that was the best play. However, and he also had the command up, which led, him to having very high accuracy and a very high chance of hitting, but unfortunately, not only did he miss the stun, but he also got the Dazzling
Yeah.
He also got the panic darts hitting his Vestal and killing it.
Yeah, that kill was absolutely huge. Like, you cannot understate how big this one was. It just means there is no more healing available for SBRH, no active healing that you can just do across the board for your teammates. There is no stun left. Obviously, you know, the A-bomb, the Hound is kind of able to still do this. But honestly, Mangle is just taking over right now. He is doing a lot of damage. Then, although there are not that many stacks of bleed and blight across the board for Mangle right now, there probably will be right now, because there is nothing to stop those characters from consistently dropping a lot of damage across the board here. So Mangle here in a prime position to take this one, I feel. Although obviously we can see also this pool here, not successful because not many people really remember this, but this pool also removes the corpses, so this Abomination not really had by this at all. You have to feel this might have been a small misplay by Mangle. He might have forgotten about that sim play.
Right, yeah. I mean, you know, on one hand, it's kind of difficult to blame him since, you know, like, it's so rarely used. But, yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that, I mean, maybe it was intentional, but, I mean, I highly doubt it just because, you know, like, as we've seen, he's been using the pulls to continuously keep the Abomination out and just neutralize his effectiveness. But by getting rid of that corpse, you know, now that plan is effectively neutered.
Yeah. Also, you have to know this MAA does not have Bellow, right? So this is one of those
exactly,
probably the only MAA I have ever seen that doesn't use Bellow at all. This means that this is purely support character that doesn't even provide any stress, like any consistent stress across the board for SBRH. This means that losing this Vestal, who was this controller of the team, might indeed cost SBRH the game. Although we have to notice that those characters are actually very healthy, and SBRH, despite playing against those DAT heavy compositions here, has been able to persist and actually do quite a lot of damage. He probably out-damaged Mangle, really. So this composition by Mangle is going to take so much blight and bleed right now. He might just drop to Death's Door as well, might just incidentally lose some of his own characters. Kind of unfortunate for Mangle, honestly. Those bleeds getting resisted as well do not help anything. So yes, you can see this Graveyard drops to 0 again. Like, we can see the Panic Darts being used probably to drop some stress and blight, but you know,
the thing is, using the Panic Darts would be extremely risky, as both the Abomination and the Man-at-Arms have riposte up, and they also can't target the Houndmaster as they're being guarded by the Man-at-Arms. Sort of, essentially, SBRH forcing Mangled into, you know, eating a riposte if he wants to try and do any damage.
Absolutely, SBRH might still be able to clutch this, honestly, because he has done a lot of shit. This Crusader getting Virtuous, though, doesn't quite help. It is one of those things which you really hate to see when you're playing stress teams. One person gets the resolve check successfully, and that Virtue is just going to consistently pay dividends for them. And honestly, like, this is the only issue that SBRH has right now. This is probably the shining light in the tunnel for Mangle as well, because he isn't looking to help. Like multiple characters of Mangle are going to drop to Death's Door right now. It's just going to be very painful to see that, but there is no way around that. We have to feel so. Honestly, those riposts are also stacking blights for SBRH, so every single time you do hit this Abomination, he does indeed reply in kind and gives you a lot of stress, a lot of DOTs, and this means that this composition by Mangle might look unhealable right now. There's no way in hell that, you know, he can out-heal those bleeds and blights, so he might just have to be forced to go super aggressive, and it looks like SBRH might just be able to go to 0 here, despite this Vestal dying so soon.
At this point, SBRH has sort of forced Mangled into a corner, and despite being a character down, just is able to force him onto the back foot and just make it so that he has to continuously heal and just, you know, be unable to apply any pressure to him.
Yeah, look at this control as well. He just denies all the stuns possible from Mangle. Seriously, SBRH just taking over this game. And Mangle might be screaming and trying to wiggle out of this, but it looks like, honestly, SBRH is just going to take over completely here.
I completely agree, yeah.
This looks so dire for Mangle. Like, what do you do if you're Mangle right now? Do you just try to sustain this somehow, just to kind of carry through with this? Or do you just play aggressively? He goes to a Punish, which is kind of a risky move as well, because you have you could potentially heal your allies, but, you know, he just goes for a bleed here, he lands this finally. You have to kind of consider the fact, though, that Mangle has indeed missed or, you know, not landed multiple bleeds this game. There are no Crusaders here, so honestly, those characters of SBRH surprisingly healthy just because of how many bleeds have indeed been resisted. And
the continuous bleed resist is very true, though. You have to remember that, you know, luck is a two-way streak. You know, for example, the situation where, like, Vestal missed the Grave Robber, and then the Grave Robber got the death blow on the Vestal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this game has
luck
been...
is a two-way streak.
Yeah, you cannot say that this game has been out of balance in terms of RNG. Like, both players have got both lucky and very unlucky at the same time. And SBRH, though, not taking those beats was probably something that really makes Mangle curse right now under his nose. You have to kind of think he's not too happy about this game so far. Obviously, he's able to land some pressure on this Abomination, but every single time you activate this character right now, if you're at SBRH, you're just able to consistently heal with those absolutions. So even if he activates the A-bomb, even if the A-bomb drops to 0 now, this is still not so dire for SBRH at all. Obviously, not having Bellow right now is probably hurting him quite a bit, because honestly, having Bellow right now against this much stress stacked up against him might have meant the game being just over. Right now, Mangle might just have enough wiggle room to find some opening into this game still. This just really depends on how well he plays his cards. But honestly, I feel like Mangled Cadaver's Crusader might just die here, like if he just activates the character. So okay, no, not anymore. This damage just, this healing on the Flagellant just probably does this.
Right,
so
the willingness to activate the Flagellant, get him into Death's Door, like that. I'd say that's a very smart play, get everybody else out of the hot seat, even if it's just for a single turn, and then be able to go ahead and exsanguinate and, like attempt to get some damage off. It was, there was a slight piece of risk to it, because he had to take the riposte, but even so, it was very unlikely to kill, only a 20% chance, so I'd say that it was a fairly smart play.
Yeah, I agree. So this was very, very... Actually, I feel like Mangle has done this more than once. It doesn't... I feel like this was just something he did on purpose. Like, he knew, I'm gonna drop to 0 HP, this is going to heal me a little bit, I'm still going to be okay because of this. Crusader doesn't drop to 0, he can still heal the Grave Robber, so you don't see this kind of chain of heart attacks leading into deaths of those characters happening. I feel like Mangle might just be able to, survive this onslaught and just get some healing done, and this might indeed mean that he will live to see another day. However, he's not out of the woods yet, absolutely not. He's just going to heal this Grave Robber we have to heal, or maybe just leaves the job for the Occult. He just goes for some sort of damage here just to pressure his opponents a little bit at least. Although we have to see this, obviously, okay, he goes for this very risky, this is a dead Crusader, just suicides here. I don't think he really wanted this to happen. This is something that I'm just kind of baffled by this play, honestly.
Yeah, that was extremely questionable, and with that, not only is the Crusader dead causing you to no longer, have the extra turn, but, like, you lose the Virtue, you lose the surface, you lose a source of healing, you lose a source of damage, just like, I'd say that was a very questionable play, especially considering he could have just simply Holy Lanced into the Abomination, even if he was going to Absolution anyways.
Especially that it was kind of calculated to be like, he knew what was going to happen to him, right? He really knew what was going to happen to him. Okay, the stream just cut off. Shit. So we cannot see this anymore. That's very unfortunate, because we may just see SBRH take it or Mangle take it. We will have no proof for that. So I'm just going to have to message Mangle, because it's kind of unfortunate. Sorry, I'm just going to switch out the screens for a second so you guys don't see the chat.
People in chat are suggesting that there is a chance that Mangold straight up rage quit. I think that's unlikely, but I mean, it is possible.
Oh, he just said he crashed.
Oh, goodness, okay.
He just crashed.
Game crashed, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so the game crashed.
He has no proof, but yeah, like, I feel like this is not a solved game, right? Would you guys say this is a solved game?
No, it most certainly was not a solved game, no.
Unfortunately, so I think we might have to replay this then, guys.
I believe so.
This was still like 3v3 in a way, right? So this was not like a finished deal. This Abomination was almost dead. Sis, how do you feel? Would you say this was a solved game or not? Sis? Okay, Sis is no longer with us. So we have to...
Sorry.
Do you feel this was good? This was a solved game or not?
Well, I've just been looking back at it right now, and I believe it's really difficult to say. I mean, honestly, I would go for a replay of this game, to be honest.
I agree, yeah.
It's the first one.
I mean, I feel like this was sort of an advantage for Eric, so we might just ask him if he would agree to replay this.
I mean, he did have a bit of an advantage there, but I think...
I mean, we can also ask Mangle.
It's a bit of a shame, I believe, to get a loss based on a game crash, because Mangle isn't a guy that's going to lie. He's a guy that will stream sniped you 50 times and think that's perfectly fine, but he's somewhat of an oddball with a sense of honor. he wouldn't have done this.
No, absolutely no. So I'm just gonna ask. Eric agreed to remake as well.
Perfect,
So
All right,
I'll
then.
bow out again. You guys are doing such a great job, by the way. Everyone, give these guys a hand. Unbelievable casting. I'm on the edge of my seat. Love you.
I mean, you can never get enough of Mangle versus SBRH, I think. So we can just replay this.
All right, yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that it has to be done, but seeing as how, there was no way to define the winner there, I'd say that's the only thing that can be done. So for all the people watching, we apologize. It's very unfortunate that this had to happen. But it really is the best that we can do.
So we'll be replaying this. You guys have to pick the same comps, yeah. So they'll have to play the same teams. You'll have to. So they'll have to play exactly the same compositions. The same teams. Very unfortunate for both players, honestly, because this was kind of a moment at a single 10 mode have probably defined who was gonna win this and who was gonna lose this.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
At this point
that was such an exciting and energetic game that it is. It's just a shame that that had to happen.
Yeah. So we have to feel like this is just gonna have to be a remake, guys. We're sorry. This looked like obviously SBRH did hold an advantage in this, but the end game RNG and the end game decision making can definitely just lead to a different outcome, right? So it feels like maybe it's like a 60-40 or 70-30 even in favor of Eric here, in favor of SBRH, but we are just not going to take this one. I feel like all the contestants agreed on this, and Eric also said he can do the remake, so we'll indeed go into that. So I'm sorry, people, about this, but yeah, it's just gonna have to go like this again. So we're just gonna go into the game once again, and we'll just do a full remake here, allowing players to reassess and go again into this match. But
right.
Gara, there is a rule for crashes, guys. If someone crashes in the game, we just decided, and the game isn't solved, we do a remake. And the way we decide about the game being solved or not is just by taking a vote. All three of us as referees said this game was not indeed solved yet. So 3-0. Also, both players also agreed that this game was not entirely over. So we just are going to remake here, and that's just gonna it's just gonna have to go like this. So it's all fair indeed. SBRH does go first again in this matchup, so we'll just see the replay here. And obviously it's kind of fortunate for him because he just gets basically the same 10 order in this particular matchup here. He moves with this Abomination, he pushes the Crusader out. This also does disable the Abomination's ability to repose, however.
Right, that's a questionable play, him just trying to get the Crusader to a point where he's unable to stun, though. By doing this, he's sort of mitigating the amount of stress he's able to apply through riposts, as well as Blight, but it's a very questionable play, as the Crusader didn't, have any big targets that he would want to stun outside of the Abomination himself, and, after he's already taken the initial turn, there's not much reason to, unless, they're going for, they're very much looking forward to the following turns.
Yeah. And since this is such a slow game overall, right, we might just kind of be in for a long one once again. So let's see what SBRH does in this instance here. Right, so let's see what exactly happens. SBRH is gonna go for a ball stake here. So he's playing this super slow contained style. You might also start calling this an SBRH comp because it does a lot of things and it does all those things extremely slowly. So those games by SBRH are going to take quite a lot of time. But he does such a great job with them. Like, honestly, I have not seen something like this used in the Circus before. The MAA used for pure support rather than using the Bella on him is just such an extraordinary thing. So I'm very surprised to see this composition kind of surface so late into the Butcher's Circus release. We are like four months in, I think, right? Maybe 4. It's got to be like 4 months in. And right now we are just seeing a completely new approach to playing the game, which apparently works so extremely well for SBRH.
Yeah, like just, SBRH, he's playing fairly slow, but I'd say at this point, he's very much able to afford to, he's got the horror stacks already, and something that, he can do is that with his Abomination, he can go with the classic, like transform to get the horror, transform out, stun something, then transform back again, to get the extra stack of horror, then go from there.
Yeah. Okay, so
and just, the stress he's able to apply over time is going to be just so impactful that it'll be, like somewhat difficult for Mangled to, have to deal with that if the game goes on for long enough that it starts stacking up.
We do see those very uncommon dodges coming through, however. Like, this Vestal usually doesn't quite miss that point here, and she has not been able to hit the characters of Mangle consistently. As you said, this is 115 accuracy attack overall, I think, so very, very high chance to actually land this, and that's kind of unlikely, again, to miss, and Mangle just gets away with this, and he's going to be able to apply some pressure this time around. I feel like he might just be able to take over with this heavy DOT composition.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It still kind of feels bad, being into a remake instead of being able to kind of resume the game. Like, this would be, this is a feature that not so many games even have. Being able to resume the game from a replay point. So kind of unfortunately we are here, but there is just no other way technically to do this. This is just the risk we're playing with. Obviously, this is so much better than having a tournament, in the previous setup where we had these things basically every second game, right? But it was just virtually impossible to hold any sort of competitive match, just because the things were killing most of those settings here. So here right now, we have a fairly stable client, guys. So it's just as good as it gets. Like, this is the first time I think we were forced to remake throughout the entire tournament. We had like 12 matches, well, even more, like 15 matches already, 3 games each possibly, so you're like 40 games altogether, maybe even 45, and about 40 games total. So
yeah, if I recall correctly, this is the 13th match, each of them having 2 to 3 games, just like, it's around 40 games, and just
it's really crash. That's basically nothing, right?
Yeah, it's really, nice to know that the client is now much more stable, and we're able to, have these cases where we have to resolve what's going on via crash, just like we have to do that very rarely and very sparingly. Okay, and it's nice for that to be the exception rather than the standard.
Let's get back to the game, actually. So we can see SBRH taking heavy punishment on this Vestal. So she was able to stun a lot previously. Right now, however, she's taking so much damage. Obviously, Mangle did... I feel like he killed the Vestal 10-3, right? So he's not far from being able to repeat that success once again. Obviously, right now, she's not moved forward, which means that she is not taking that much risk, right? She can just use the grace every single time and just bring herself back to about like 20-25 HP, because she does have the idol, allowing her to heal some bonus HP there. So she can just consistently
that is true, but you gotta remember, like on a comp, like SBRH's, where it's very much so, like slow burn, trying to, like get tempo over time, like with that, you want to be able to, like slow down Mangled in any way you can, and, having to heal as opposed to stun there, like sort of gives Mangled the advantage there, is, like he's just getting more turns to try and take down SBRH before the horror can really creep up on him.
Obviously, but this Vesta also in a very fortunate spot, because this doesn't really make sense for Mangle to attack her right now using stress, using those darts, which is one of the 3 attacks that can actually target her. Because she needs 2 more stress to get to 100, and if she doesn't get, or actually 4 stress to get to 100. And this means that, Mangle will be wasting those high stress attacks if he just decides to use them. So you might just go for Reign of Sorrows here, just to take that to 100 before he continues, putting pressure on this backline of SBRH. Honestly, as well, I feel like maybe Mangle might want to switch. Okay, he goes for a pull here, that's not a bad move at all. So he applies some Harahi, he does a little bit of damage, he pulls this Vestal forward. But honestly, Mangle might just want to spread the pressure a little bit, because he wants to be damaging multiple targets so that SBRH has to choose whom to heal and whom not to heal. And right now, SBRH is kind of safe healing this Vestal over and over again, right? So, might be...
Yeah, that is very true.
Maybe just, hitting this... this Abomination might be a good idea here, because SBRH, honestly, in a very different position this time around. This Abomination not really able to use any sort of repose here, which is, a lot of pressure just not being there. On Mangle, he had a lot of trouble with damage coming, like creeping up those dots, were demolishing his lineup, and when the Vestal was killed, Mangle's characters were actually quite unhealthy as well. So... Yeah, you just have to feel that right now this is a very different game state than we were actually enjoying before, and Mangle is, I feel, in a better position than he was. So he's been able to maybe just improve his playstyle a little bit from game to game, and he should be able to kind of be in a prime position to take this game. Obviously, you know, those darts do not kill the Vestal now, so this means this Vestal is probably going to live until perhaps even turn number 5, depending on what moves Mangle chooses to make right now. He can double stun, by the way, he can land a double stun, he chooses not to, he goes for...
No, he instead chooses to transform, you know, once again, just continuing to have that horror stack, just continuing to apply pressure that way, and going for a rage, putting the Grave Robber down into Death's Door, which applies so much pressure to Mangle.
That's a heads up play. He might just actually try to ditch this Vestal and go for damage. He might just go for a stun on the Grave Robber, preventing any sort of invisibility play coming into play. For Mangle, so this might even be a kill.
Being activated, I think that's the most likely case scenario. We see him hovering over the Grave Robber, and yes, that's exactly what he's going for.
It's not dodge this time, though, so she is indeed going to be removed from the fight for quite a while, and this
and I'd say that is an excellent play on the side of SBRH.
Yeah. I mean,
just, you know, being willing to take that risk to, you know, like, be able to let go of the Vestal to try and gain as much tempo as possible. I'd say that was just a fantastic play.
So the question is, if you're Mangled right now, how much are you willing to spend to finish off this Vestal? Because she's quite healthy, 60% Devil Res, relatively high still, and every single turn you make right now might indeed be a wasted one, right? Because tossing a coin right now in a desperate situation, which Mangled is kind of in right now, you know, double affliction creeping up, maybe triple even this turn. This might mean that he is in dire straits once again, despite healing this Grave Robber of 27. I don't think this is what SBRH needs as well. This is not what SBRH needs at all right now. So what SBRH wants to have happen right now is just this huge amount of stress piling up on Mangle. He doesn't need the damage really. So just removing this Grave Robber from being able to do anything this turn is actually working in his favor. We can also see heavy bleed. This is just the Houndmaster using that, and this is potentially a stun as well coming through. It's not indeed, and this is a dodge by the Vestal. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, that dodge is absolutely huge. Not only is, you know, the Vestal not having to, you know, take the 40-60 gamble of dying, but, you know, like, it also just keeps the Deathblow resist up. It just keeps her safe. I'd say that is just very fortunate for SBRH.
So we're basically
getting a question to see what is the Abomination going to do. It's choose to rage. Gets a
so much damage.
Oh goodness, putting the Grave Robber back down to Death's Door.
And that's also stress.
That is very fortunate. Yeah,
that's
and it's also additional
so much stress. Like every single crit just does basically what Antiquarian's Festering Vapors do to the enemy team. And this forces another heal from Mangle, and he really doesn't want to be healing against a stress team. That's what we've been saying. That's kind of a mantra for me. Like, do not heal against stress team. This never works. You just delay your death. You delay your demise. And I feel like Mangle is in a very disadvantageous position, probably worse than before the crash, honestly. Because right now, this Vestal is still alive. He can just heal with her, just buy himself some more time. He can stun as well.
He could even just continue on the stuns. Yeah, going for the Crusader. Getting a crit, and that's going to be a stun on him. My goodness.
Yeah, you have to imagine Sis is very happy right now. He's been just really annoyed by people playing safe. Kind of the play by Adelbart, for instance, was just very annoying for Sis, I think, because Adelbart just was playing this overly safe. SBRH on the other end of the spectrum, he realizes, okay, this is my time to shine. I might eventually lose this Vestal, but as I said, this is 10-5. She has already played. This means that basically no 10 wasted for SBRH. This Vestal did her job this fight, and Mangle Cadaver's composition is in shambles. Look at this. Almost 200 stress on this Crusader. Activation death. This
he's very heavily weakened as soon as the Crusader's activated, unless, you know, he takes the Occultist's turn to heal. The Crusader's dead.
The Crusader's just dead.
Crit as well. No, the Crusader's straight up dead thanks to the crit.
Yeah, this is over. It feels like Mangle is just... You know, this remake is just working in his favor. This game is fully solved right now. You have to feel like SBRH, if we were to vote right now, if Mangled was to crash online, let's see this.